What's up, everybody? Big Luke here, man of the free, Luke Lunk, Big Luke, many other AKAs, but today that's not important because we're in the studio with Wyatt Lozano.
Appreciate you having me.
No problem, brother.
Honored to be here.
I'm honored that you are here. So, we plan on covering a lot today, Wyatt, and what I usually do when I have a guest in the studio is we kind of talk about how we met each other, like how you know me, how I know you. So, I'm trying to remember, is it just from the auction?
So, I'll tell you how I feel we know each other.
Okay.
It is from the auction.
Okay.
We
You
met at
scared
the
me there
auction.
for a minute.
And then we realized that we had some people in common. You know, some of people that over the years haven't really cared for me happen to have been friends with you.
Ah.
We talked about that a little bit. We talked about misunderstandings.
People in the weightlifting space? Okay.
Community.
Yeah.
You know, we talked about misunderstandings in that. And then we went from there. And then you're one of the only guys that comes down to the auction. You buy cars every time you're there. You spend a lot of money down there, buddy.
This is a shameless plug for my company, buddy. I appreciate that. Yeah. So let me dive into that real quick. So I know not everybody that goes there buys cars every week, but you make it sound like I'm one of the few that buys cars every week.
Every time you're there, you're definitely one of the top guys buying cars. Absolutely. Okay. And I would say there would be a handful of about 5 dealers that buy every single week, and you're one of those guys.
No kidding. So that's crazy.
We missed you this week.
Yeah, I was preparing for this, actually. We're in the studio. I was rehanging some of these guys that fell down and just making sure the ambiance was good. But that right there is a perfect example of you have no idea what somebody else is thinking, right? So in my eyes, I'm thinking, okay, I'm a car dealer. Wyatt knows me from, Central New York, car dealer, buys vehicles at the auction, just another guy, and we sit down here, and you tell me I'm one of the guys that comes in and buys a lot of cars consistently.
I mean, you want the exact story of how we
fucking
met?
hit me, brother. Let's go.
You were in the auction, I'm in the auction. We're both bigger guys.
We bumped into each other.
So we bumped into each other.
That's a good story.
And then you leaned into me and you said, well, I don't want to have to move you.
Which I immediately thought better.
So then we walked away from each other, and then you came up to me and you said, I didn't really mean to say it like that. I just meant to say, we bumped into each other, and it's okay. We're both big guys, and I'm gonna. If I try to move you, I'm gonna probably have some trouble moving you. And you apologize for saying
I did, because it came out as, hey, listen, man, I don't want to have to move you. And then I realized as I walked away, that could be taken entirely the wrong way. When in reality, it was quite literal. I did not want to have to move a guy, and the comment was being made to reference how big you were, when in reality, I realized that it could have came off kind of wise ass. And at a different time in my life, I would have walked away and been like, fuck it, whatever. Right. But, in this latter part of my life where I try to be a good human being and I realize that words, have power, I'm like, you know what? I don't want that guy's impression of me to be what a fucking asshole. So I came and I said, something to the effect of, hey, man, that came out wrong. I hope it didn't sound arrogant and whatever. And
it's funny, though, how a lot of times bigger guys are pitted against each other 100%. Automatically.
Yeah, without our saying so.
No, yeah, right. I mean, I've had, over the years being in Syracuse, just guys, my big brother, Chris, he'll beat your ass, blah, blah, blah. And then it turns out me and Chris meet, and we're great friends.
Chris is a pretty cool guy.
You know what I mean? There was a local guy that his cousin went to my school. He went to Henniger, and there was like this beef set up in high school between me and this guy. And we didn't even, just because we were the 2 big guys from the school.
Yeah.
We didn't even know each other. At the end of the day, we became great friends. Mm-hmm. And I talk to the guy to this day.
Yeah. So that's a good point. That people gas situations up, and they gas people up, right? So we're segueing beautifully into one of the topics that I wanted to talk about, and it was basically viewpoints on being a bigger guy, right? So I think I try to a lot of times think of, what's the audience thinking? We're here for the audience. We're here to try to, make good content, be entertaining, and also teach them something and bring them value. And I think a lot of people wonder, because before we had this show, I asked some people. I asked Scott and his team, our production staff, some of their employees. I asked some people that I employ, and I asked just some people that I'm friends with. Like, listen, you're going to have 2 big, giant sons of bitches in a studio, cameras on, mics on, chopping it up. What would you want to hear them talk about? And one of them, actually, who's also a bigger guy and a bodybuilder, and is certainly no small guy, but I think height and weight-wise, we dwarf him, and he was like, I want to know what it's like to be a big guy. Like, I want to know how, do you walk out of the house just knowing you're a badass? And that. So let me. What's your viewpoint?
So I mean, there's several common misconceptions. I mean, you're a big guy, you're automatically looked at as a bully. The minute you stand up for yourself as a big guy, you're a bully. You know what I mean? I don't know about you, but I had a lot of people call the cops.
Do you see the grin?
I'm just talking. I'm just talking.
Right.
And they're like, oh yeah, we called the cops on you. I got kicked out of a gym once. And with the reasons I got kicked out, and I worked out of this gym since I was 11 years old.
Okay.
And when I was 22, they decided to kick me out. And they wrote me a letter. And they had this little girl handed it to me who was working the front desk. Little blonde girl.
Yeah.
And everybody there.
Okay.
Bodybuilders, powerlifters that work there, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And she hands it to me. She's like shaking when she hands it to me. And I took it and I was like, I read it and said, we are banning you from this presence due to your language and your stature. So the way I took that,
your stature?
The way they did. The way I took that
kind
was
of incriminating, I think.
The way I took that was my voice and my size. Mm-hmm. I never really did anything disrespectful at this gym.
Well, how else would you take that?
Oh, yeah. So, I was like, you know what, honey? I was like, I'll finish my workout and then I'll leave. So then next thing you know, I see cops coming up the escalator at Bally's at the mall.
You gotta be shitting me.
And I'm like, okay, whatever, I'll just leave. I go to walk out, I'm walking out. I was like, I'm leaving, guys. I'm leaving, no problem. Mm-hmm. There's automatically these, these prejudgments of who you are. Yeah. At the end of the day, I lift weights. I made the world's heaviest dumbbell, 451-pound dumbbell. I got several records in powerlifting. Mm-hmm. But, I'm into other shit. I'm into poetry. I'm into art.
Oh, shit.
I'm into stuff that people wouldn't think I'd be into.
Not at all.
I actually paint myself. Not myself. I paint.
That was a hell of a mental image there for a minute.
Right. Yeah, sitting there.
Silverback, jack-o'-lantern, where are we going with Wyatt?
So, and that's unfortunate. The first thing is, like I said, they're a bully or they're insecure or all this stuff. And, the fact that people want to come out to you. So let's go back to the auction.
Yep.
So one of the rules of the auctions, you have to have a bidder badge to be there. Mm-hmm. So, and this is one of my latest security stories. So, because I'm not really doing the clubs anymore. Yep. So this is what I have to take from.
Right. That's the Wyatt's line of work, by the way. Wyatt's in security.
There was a guy there who I hadn't seen, and he comes in, and I'm like, I look at the manager, and I'm like, I've never seen this guy.
Okay.
Check to see if he has a bidder badge. So I walk up to him, hey man, how you doing? My name's Wyatt. I'm here doing security. I haven't seen you before. The security here is a relatively new thing. We've only been there about a year now.
Yeah.
And I was like, do you have a bidder badge on you? Everyone's got to show their bidder badge. I ain't showing you nothing. You think just because you're big as fuck, I'm scared of you? And I'm just like, sir, that has nothing to do with this. But you're the one that mentioned my size. This is just me being me.
Right.
I'm asking you for a bidder badge. Do you have a bidder? I ain't showing you shit. Blah, blah, blah. So long story short, he ends up showing me his bidder badge. And I'm like, that's all you needed to do, man.
Right.
That's it. Appreciate you doing that. Yeah. Enjoy your time. So this situation in my life, not the exact same thing, has happened several times. So in fact, you judging us that we're insecure, and everybody has some sort of insecurity. I'm not saying I don't. I absolutely do.
I sure as hell do.
I absolutely do, and I'll admit it right now. Yeah. You're telling me your insecurity.
Right.
You're the one that's pointing out my size. Yeah. What the hell is going on, Mm-hmm. So if people actually looked in the mirror or thought about what they were saying, they wouldn't say shit like that.
You're 100% right.
And the badass thing, who gives a fuck about any of that shit?
Right.
At the end of the day, if you wake up thinking about being a badass, then go be an MMA fighter.
Right.
If you're thinking about being a badass and you just have a regular job or whatever,
right,
you're an idiot, in my opinion.
Pretty much. I can definitely align with that thinking. Yeah. It looks like you won, though, because Bally's isn't there anymore. So.
Oh, no. It's long gone.
That place,
They've had 3 or 4 gyms, man.
That was an interesting place. That was a cesspool for a lot of interesting bodybuilder and gym rat, stereotypical gossip behavior. It was like everything that you imagined a designer meathead, juice bar, nut job gym to be. Like that was the place. And I remember wanting to work out there so bad. And then when I got in there, I was like, man, these guys are assholes. Like there's like maybe 1 or 2 nice people here, and they're not the ones that have 21-inch biceps. So it was very disheartening for me when I went to that gym. But you said something that I can relate to, and that is when you try to enforce any kind of rules, when you try to enforce any kind of like anything that could be construed as physical, right? So you're in a bar, you got to walk past the guy. Hey, excuse me, brother, you mind if I sneak around you real quick?
They stiffen up.
Oh yeah. Well, first thing they do is right? They go rooster, chest puffs out, lats go out, and you're like, oh fuck, man, don't like, come on, I'm trying to get to the fucking jukebox, right? And then they're like, oh, you can go there. And then you start doing this evaluation in your head. You're like, okay, so where's the closest solid object? How many guys are in here? Where's the law enforcement? I'll speak about me. This is what my mind does. And this is probably the criminal, the bad guy in me coming out that used to scrap a lot when I was younger. I immediately go into, okay, well, if it gets to that point, where are my exits? What is the worst that could happen? Make sure I don't throw them in that direction because that's dangerous and sharp. And then, you realize that this person is simply reacting to their own insecurity, just like you said. You go to a woman, say, excuse me, miss, would you mind moving so I can get to the jukebox? Oh, no problem, honey.
Sure.
Go to an old lady. More importantly, go to another big son of a bitch. Hey, big bro, do you mind if I sneak around you? No, my man, do your thing. You're right over there, right? Yeah. And it's like, man, if people only knew how transparent their insecurities were when they behaved that way to a big guy, they would immediately change their behavior because it's so telling, right? It's so telling. I've luckily been able to become a big guy. When I, believe it or not, I just showed some people today a picture that I wish I had. I could bring it up quickly and show it to you. Matter of fact, when we get into post-production, I'll have you guys put a picture of me on the screen so people can see what I'm talking about. And it's like a YMCA basketball tournament that I was doing for one of the car dealerships that I worked for when I was younger. I'm probably 19 years old. All of 185 pounds. Big, goofy haircut, forearms bigger than my upper arm, which they almost are nowadays, but just skinny, nothing to me, very frail, athletic, built like a shorter Dirk Nowitzki. I mean, that's really what I looked like. And as time progressed, I always wanted to be a big guy, right? I always saw the way when somebody who was large in stature walked into the room, they just commanded respect, right? You don't see somebody who looks big and powerful and is just a presence. You don't see them and go, okay, well, fuck that guy. Nothing's changed. You go, okay, this person represents something. And generally, to get to this type of size, yourself, myself, there needs to be some sort of devotion to a physical activity, right? You don't look like me and play Fortnite every night, right? So you immediately know, and that's one thing that I enjoy about being muscular, is because most people, logical, intelligent people, are looking at me going, okay, that guy's disciplined. That guy's, he's very focused and into and devoted to something that's physical.
Right.
And when I would see big people walk into a room, it was like, holy shit, like, what, first of all, was he always that big? What did it take to get there? What is he capable of? Do people fuck with him the way they fuck with me? And, later on, of course, in life, when you get bigger, you find out the answers to those questions. And so it's different, I think, for somebody like me than it is for you. I'm going to assume, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you've always been a bigger guy, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Like, when did you first, so let me ask you this question. When did you first know that you were abnormally large or powerful?
So I started lifting weights at 11. Well, rewind. My first weight set was at 7.
Okay.
I mean, I was obsessed with, John Henry Hammer stories, Hulk, Juggernaut, stuff like that, Marvel. So I started lifting in my basement at 7. Then I got a gym membership at 11. But I really didn't get big until I was about 15. From 14 to 16, I went from like 215 pounds, 6'1", to about 285 pounds. Same height.
What was the first one? You said you got to 285, but what did you start out at?
215.
So you put on 70 pounds in a year?
2 years.
2 years?
Yeah, from 14 to 16.
Holy shit.
Yep. And that's when the steroid accusations started coming, even from my teachers.
It can't possibly be
from
natural.
My doctors, from all that shit.
Yeah.
I blew up. I mean, I was in the gym all the time, lifting heavy. Any frustration I had in life, I'd go to the gym, break up with a girlfriend, go to the gym, lose a hockey game because I played hockey at the time.
Did
go
you
to
know
the gym.
shit? I didn't play hockey.
Bad grades before I stopped giving a fuck. Go to the gym. And I stopped giving a fuck at about that time frame too. It was just a part of me. Training has always been a part of me.
Okay.
It's been a mental therapy as well as physical for me. My whole life, I've really never missed much time at the gym.
So 14 to 16,
I just blew up.
You blew up.
Yeah.
Okay. And did you at that point, were you were you comparing yourself to people, saying how strong is this guy, how strong am I, or was it just Wyatt's in the zone, going to the gym, having therapy?
I remember being in the weight room at West Jenny, that's where I went to high school.
Okay.
There was a kid, he was benching 205. His name was Sam McSween.
Okay.
And I think he's still around here somewhere, but I remember being like, one day I want to be that strong. And then 16.
Wyatt's chuckling because he does that with like one arm now.
16, now we curl that shit.
Right.
16, I was benching 405.
16 years old, benching 405. Jesus, man.
And it just, that's when I kind of knew that there was like a difference.
Just so the audience has comparison, okay? And for the people who are listening and are not seeing the visual here, Wyatt is, how tall are you, Wyatt?
6'2".
6'2". How much do you weigh?
345 right now.
345. Now, he's not built like me as in broad shoulders, shaped like a golf tee, like a bodybuilder. He's shaped like a half Thor Bjornsson, or I would say your body type is more like strongman powerlifter. Would you agree? Yep. Okay, so
that's fair.
You're powerful. You know what I mean? You look at Wyatt and you see just big arms, big chest, big legs, big head, big everything. He's just
big belly.
Big. Well, so I mean, obviously you don't have six pack abs, but I don't. When I look at you, I don't see a guy with a big belly. I see a guy who's built like a powerlifter, right? A guy like my dad who does have a big belly has talked his whole life about how he'd love to look like that. Right. Just a big chest, big belly, big arms, big shoulders, big traps. Right. Matter of fact, we had an episode with Rita West, who's IFBB pro, world record holding women's powerlifter, and she defined your body type as the most attractive thing to her. She says, she said to me, kind of, no offense, Luke. She's like, but I'm not into the pretty boys. She's like, I want a guy that looks powerful. I don't care if he's got a little belly, drinks a few beers, but and I think her exact words, I want traps that you can sink your teeth into, were her exact words. And I had to calm her down, throw the fire extinguisher on her. She was getting worked up while she was describing it.
Rita's awesome.
She's awesome.
She's got an awesome gym over there.
She does, and she's done a lot of cool things, and she's overcome a lot of adversity. So, body type wise, you're built like a power lifter. You gained 70 pounds in 14 to 16. Yep. Okay, so at 16, you said you were benching 405.
405.
So to put it in perspective for the people out there that are our listeners, okay, some of you are into bodybuilding and weightlifting, and they'll know the lifts that we're talking about, and they'll know what type of power that is. But to put it in perspective for those that don't, now you can see me. You can see I'm a big muscular guy. I'm strong. 425 pounds is the most I've ever benched, and that's while cycling on anabolic steroids. Okay, Wyatt has benched 405 at the age of 16, and correct me if I'm wrong, but you have not used steroids at any point in your life, right? Ever, like never, ever, right? So what's funny, what you said about the 14 to 16 transition, everybody thought you were on steroids. To some extent, they were right, because you were pubescent at that time. You had an influx of testosterone in your body. So, were you using an exogenous hormone and putting it in your body artificially? No, but you were getting the exact same response that I was at 28 when I was putting testosterone in my body.
It's funny you say that.
Which is phenomenal.
That's exactly when the doctors, after they ran several tests to see if I was on steroids, because they didn't believe me, they said that. They said that because you lifted weights through puberty, you altered your DNA into this. You altered yourself to become.
So you wouldn't have become
person.
This had you not been so devoted to the gym.
Absolutely not.
No kidding. They actually, medical professionals said that.
They did.
No shit. That's incredible. That's interesting. So
my father's 5'5". My mother's 5'8".
Okay.
Right, there was no reason to be 6'2". At one point, I was 6'3".
Okay.
But we've lost an inch over this time, crushing my body. I did when I was 18. I did a 900-pound yoke on my back, walked with it.
Jesus Christ.
That dumbbell has definitely done some damage. You're not going to make it out of this, and that's another point, too.
Yeah.
You're not going to make it out of any sort of extreme lifting without being punished. You're going to pay for it.
You're 100%
You know
right.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And no one's going to make it out alive, so it's your choice.
Right.
How do you want to live it? You want to be normal or like everybody else, or do you want to be,
So let's talk.
specimen?
Man, I love that word, normal. So let's talk about that, okay? We have.
I feel like you hate that word at the same time.
Well, so I love normal and I hate it at the same time because, first of all, there's no such fucking thing as normal,
Nah,
right?
what the fuck is it?
Yeah, great question. So you get
By
the guy,
normal, I mean
physically.
puny. and happy being regular.
You know what's funny?
Maybe regular's a better term.
So Rita and I got in the same conversation, right? And it's funny, anytime I talk to somebody who is enormously powerful, large in stature, devoted to any sort of physical cause, right? They really get not sensitive, but they have an opinion. They're highly opinionated on the conversation about what's normal and what's not normal. And I think it's because, I'll just keep it on the eye, right? This is how I feel. I feel like society says that normal is not 6'4", normal is not 275 pounds jacked, that I'm not normal. I'm a freak, right? Now, there's a part of me that loves that. There's a part of me that says, you're goddamn right, I'm a freak. It took a whole lot of blood, sweat, and tears to get to where I'm at right now. You don't have it in you to get here, so go ahead and stand on the sidelines and be you, and I'll be me. And that's the arrogance in me, right? But then there's a flip side of that coin, where I say, I happen to think I look pretty good. Women seem to respond to me, and men in kind, okay? People appreciate the way I look physically. They like when I can help them lift a shopping cart up and into the back of their truck.
Your phone always rings when somebody needs to move.
Yeah, buddy. Anytime you need to move something, anytime you need a spot, anything, it's always Big Luke, Big Luke, Big Luke. So it's like, okay, am I abnormal, or is lazy acceptable? That's where my head goes with it. You don't need to be 6'4", 275, benching 4 1/4. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is it's not popular to be, well, I was about to say something that's not accurate. I was going to say it's not popular to be physically fit, and that's not true. It is not encouraged at a high rate by anybody in society that holds any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for, ability to persuade, or any sort of, what's the word I'm looking for?
Coerce?
No, but like when you have any sort of effect on society, when you have any sort of, there's people out there screaming the word right now, like, you dumb son of a bitch. My vocabulary is terrible. What I mean by this is influence. By anybody who has any kind of influence on society. It's not like they're encouraging them to be fit. I remember when I was a kid, man, when I was in school, it was like NFL had the Play 60 thing, 60 minutes a day, make sure you exercise. Right. You had DARE, drug abuse resistance education, which was telling you to stay away from drugs and get healthy. And, fuck, man. I remember watching during the pandemic, during COVID, I remember watching them just push this vaccine, right? Now, the vaccine was important. It had a job, it did it, and I think there was a lot of bullshit around the vaccine. I think there was a lot of unnecessary political rhetoric around the vaccine. I don't think it's right to shame people for not wanting to get it, right? It's your personal choice. But what I did not see, and who talked about this? Joe Rogan talked about this, okay? He said that there was not any push to take vitamins. There was not any push to build up natural immunities. There was not any push to stay healthy, eat right, rest properly. They didn't even educate people. They didn't even utter a word about other ways to be healthy and help raise your immune system. It was nothing but take a shot.
Right.
No, I don't agree with that.
Right. Before, the vaccine talk, we can talk about the influence and the social media influence on being fit and how they don't talk about it, in the government and in the world.
Okay.
It's not promoted. Now, there is a toxic part of that, too, and I'm sure you see it, too. There's some dudes that go, they're screaming at people to go to the gym, or, they'll look at me. I have a pretty big following between my social medias. We're at, like, almost 200,000 total.
Dude, for you.
And, I'll post a video, and it'll be, oh, he's just a fat ass. He's supposed to be that
People
strong,
actually say
blah,
that?
blah. Oh, fuck yeah. You get more haters. I mean, I get more support than I do hate. But
has anybody ever said that standing right next to you?
Never. The negativity sticks with you a little bit, more than the support.
Dude,
and I appreciate all the love I get, but at the same time, that just because a dude's heavier, you're seen as unhealthy.
Yeah.
And I do 4 miles of cardio every single day. I used to be 418 pounds. Now, was I unhealthy then? Absolutely.
Okay.
Was I, not going to make 40? Absolutely, I wasn't going to make 40. You know what I mean? Now, there's that extreme. And in weightlifting, I took it to that extreme. I was like, even as a natty guy, I took it to that extreme.
He told me a story about trying to spike insulin and shit.
Yeah, right. Eating a whole, I'm looking at how bodybuilders are spiking their insulin and growth. I'm going to eat a whole box of Ho-Hos before I go to the gym. That's how I'm going to spike mine. It does sound good. And I reached, over 400 pounds, and that was unhealthy to be. And for that, they would be correct. But at the end of the day, just because a guy's big doesn't mean he's strong.
Right.
Because if that was the case, when you show up to a powerlifting meet, all right, the super heavyweights, there's either the strongest one, and then the rest of them are like, all right. You know what I mean?
Right, mediocre.
So if that, and that's even in powerlifting.
Yeah.
So that means every 400-pound guy walking around Syracuse should be able to lift more than me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah,
that's just not the case. And you.
Right.
You know, or whoever. I got buddies that are in the 150s that are deadlifting 700 pounds. You can't get, you know, around 700, 675-ish. You can't get these guys that you can get up off the couch, so it takes some athleticism as a bigger man just to be big and to be fit.
It's kind of where my mind was going with that. I was thinking to myself, well, if somebody was genetically predisposed to being a little heavier, a little more body fat, a little bit thicker and bigger boned, I think it's that much more commendable that that person is physically fit and active, and you know.
So there's that generalization that is, if you're overweight, you're just automatically unhealthy, and that's just not the case.
Right.
But it's not the case with me.
Right.
You know what I mean? So, and it sucks that in the fitness community, we're all in the same community. We're in the gym community.
Right.
Screw the fitness word. The fitness word is where things get rocky.
Oh, yeah.
We're in the gym community. So we all should be supporting each other. And you know, the steroid thing too, I don't care what people use. And that's a generalization that people have on me, is because I'm natty. I'm cocky about it. I'm arrogant about it. Like, oh, he's, you know, he was born to lift that shit.
Natty means not using steroids, just for the listeners.
I got a brother that's 5'11", about 210. You get him in the gym, he can't even bench press his own body weight.
No shit.
You know what I mean? So, I don't know. You know, you have to actually work, is my point. You have to work to get stronger, and then these generalizations in the fitness industry are just stupid. And then the generalizations that, you know, everyday people have, it's dumb.
Okay.
It's dumb.
So
I understand it. It's dumb to me, and it makes no fucking sense that just because a guy's big, he's automatically not in good health.
Right.
He's in poor health. That's just not.
So when you say these generalizations in the fitness industry, that's what you're referring to.
Yeah.
If somebody's, you know, a bigger guy doesn't look like David Hasselhoff, that they're automatically unhealthy. Yeah, I can definitely, I can understand that, and I can align with that thinking. What I can say is, there's it's funny regarding the steroids thing. We're going to touch on that real quick. I think it's very impressive that you've accomplished what you've accomplished without augmenting with hormones, right? Because let's talk about that for a minute, just so they understand. You talk about records, lifting records.
So, I mean, world's heaviest dumbbell, 451 pounds, only man in history to do any kind of exercise with it.
Okay.
All right. Raw, drug-free junior bench press world record, 5015 at 23 years old.
And what's 23? Okay.
23 years old. I hold several state records on the bench press as well for my age now.
Okay.
I jumped into strict curl, which is what I think you're getting to.
How old are you now, Wyatt?
I'm 34.
34, okay.
I jumped into strict curl in 2019 on a whim.
Okay.
And the first meet I ever went to, I strict curled without knowing anything, 176 pounds, which was the most weight strict curled in New York State history.
Walk them through what a strict curl is real quick.
So strict curl, you have to curl the weight with your back and butt against the wall.
Okay.
You can get no momentum from the lift.
Okay.
It's all just your arms, forearms.
And it's a bicep curl.
It is, but at the end of the day, like most lifts, it's a whole body lift.
Right.
The bench press, people think the bench press is just your pecs. No, it's bullshit. It's
You can break your toes bench pressing.
Your triceps, absolutely. Leg drive.
Yeah.
People don't even think about that.
No, they don't.
It's still a whole body lift, but it's mainly your biceps. So you can get no momentum whatsoever. And then I looked at what the drug-free world record was for super heavyweights. It was like 181. So I qualified for the world championship, went out to the world championship in 2019, did 184, and then the whole crowd was like, the way you just did 184, you'll put 200 on. So I put 200 on, and in the history of drug-free powerlifting, only one other guy had done over 200. So the place went absolutely insane. And that's when I kind of fell in love with it, because I went to a lot of weightlifting competitions, from strongman, powerlifting, all kinds. Even unfortunately, there was a CrossFit one going on while the strongman one was going on, and the response from the crowd was just insane.
Yeah,
like the place erupted.
Made you feel great.
And I missed it. Yeah. I missed the 200. I got it right here. The place was going nuts, and I dropped it.
Yeah.
But I was like, this is a thing. This is a fucking thing.
Right.
You know, because I never trained arms. Okay. I always did heavy back, heavy bench.
Compound movements.
Never really been a huge leg guy. Heavy back, heavy bench was always my thing. It was always what I did. And, you know, it was crazy to me that I was actually, like, good at it. My weightlifting partner is actually a guy he's helped me. He's guided me my whole life. He's been with me since I was 14. His name's Joe Grabowski.
Okay.
He's a local guy. He's been around this area his whole life. He was actually my bus driver at West Jenny. That's how we met. We started lifting weights back then, and he was like, I was doing a cheat curl just for shits and giggles. I had 3 plates on each side. You know, it was like, you know, so what's that? So 90, 180, 270, 25-pound bar, 295 pounds.
A lot of fucking weight.
And I was doing it for like 4, just cheat curl, throwing my body into it. And he's like, dude, is there some kind of curl contest? And that's when we looked into it. And I was like, and the state record, here's the other thing. The guy that's been ahead of me in the drug-free world on the bench my whole life, his name is Pedro Mejas.
Okay.
He did like 640. And he weighs like 450 pounds.
Bench?
5'11", 640 raw bench, drug tested.
Natural.
Yeah, natural, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, big guy.
That's
so he had the record.
Okay.
It was only like 148. And I'm like, there's no fucking way.
Right.
I can't not do 150.
Right.
I got to knock this guy off something. So, you know, that's what started it. And then it just kind of went from there. You know, CT Fletcher started reacting to my videos. And I'm like, I'm a guy from Syracuse. CT Fletcher's a guy I've always looked up to.
Yeah.
And I was like, and he's reacted to my shit.
CT Fletcher's the dude. And over here in the dungeon.
Do your motherfucking set, you know? And I was like, this is a thing. You know, I'm going to go with it. And I headlined a competition.
Yeah, he invited you to a competition, right?
Well, he invited me, then COVID hit.
Okay.
So his stuff got canceled. And then, you know, fast forward 2 years, the Arnold hits, and I headlined a competition against Leroy Walker, who's an enhanced lifter. And it was me and him head-to-head.
Enhanced meaning he can use steroids?
Yes,
okay.
Yes. There's drug-free categories. There's tested and untested categories.
We just got listeners that aren't into the gym
so
space.
You can compete in either one that you choose to compete into.
Okay.
In most federations. Some of them are just drug-free too, and some of them are just, they don't even care.
Gotcha.
Like, we're not going to test anybody anyway.
Just fucking curl it.
Just come here, you know, or bench or whatever it's going to be.
Okay.
You know, so to do that was probably one of the biggest moments, sports moments, probably in my family's history, to headline a competition at the Arnold Classic, which the Arnold Classic, for those who don't know, is one of the biggest weightlifting competitions, expos that is available in America.
Now, the Arnold is a bodybuilding show and a weightlifting show, strongman, right?
Powerlifting, and now, as of this past year, they started the strict curl in it as well.
So they are doing the strict curl.
So this was the premier one, too. So to be a part of that,
that's pretty cool.
In a way, you're a part of the history of that sport.
Like the inaugural first one there.
And then back to CT, he invited me out to his world championship, which, you know, I went out there and just did what I needed to do, man. Just fucking went nuts.
And you won it?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah?
Oh, yeah. They had a lot of dudes show up from all over the world. Some dudes I didn't even hear of. They had this pro strongman from Slovakia that was just an animal. He was in my weight class. Your height, 337. Jesus. And this dude had veins. He was a big, big dude.
He's a big boy.
And he was right in my face, and it was just a moment, man. It was one of those moments that I'll remember that for the rest of my life.
That's awesome, man.
Chill's talking about it.
That's so cool. Yeah. Good for you, brother. I love hearing these kind of stories, because one of the things that we do on this show is we try to empower people, right? So you're a guy that, you know, we come from a relatively small town, right?
Yep.
There's not a lot of, I don't want to say there's not a lot of opportunity and sound like the ho-hum, you know, West Canyon, Texas Coyote from Varsity Blues bitching about no opportunity. There's opportunity if you go seek it and you go find it. But it's one of the things that's empowering, knowing your story for me and what I'm looking to do is, you know, I see CT Fletcher on YouTube, right? Yeah. And Instagram and shit like that. A lot of these people that you've mentioned are all very, very big in the fitness space. You know, these are the people that the YouTube algorithm puts in front of your face as the leaders of the industry. Right. You know, they're reaching out to you, asking you to come to a competition. It makes it real, right? It makes it attainable, right?
To that point, one of my points in life in general is I don't like that attitude of I'm from Syracuse, I'm going to go nowhere. Right. I literally have heard it. Well, you're from Syracuse, you're going to go nowhere. I'm from Syracuse, I'm going to go nowhere. You better get the fuck out of Syracuse if you want to do anything with your life. Right. One of my points is you can be from anywhere and do whatever the fuck you want to do
100%
in life if you dedicate yourself to something.
And how do you do that?
Make it happen.
And how do you do that?
So how I do that, for me, my whole life, it saved my life. It's all been the gym.
Okay.
It's all been the gym. It saved my life as a kid. It saved my life as an adult, medically, all kinds of shit. It saved my life, and it's been part of every dream that I've done. I mean, the bouncer thing was, if I wasn't this size or stature, you know.
Wouldn't happen.
Right.
Right.
It wouldn't happen. I'm a nice dude. I'm not an asshole. There are some dudes who are assholes that are bouncers, and they last a little bit until they get knocked the fuck out. That never happened to me. You know what I mean? Then the movie thing, too.
Yeah.
So I got into movies in 2015, and I literally was picked because I was a bigger dude.
You're a big guy.
I walked in, and I had a deep voice. Big guy, talks like this. That's the fucking guy. He's our fucking bouncer. Playing a bouncer of what I grew up doing.
Right.
You know, the dreams of weightlifting that I thought about it as a kid, I've achieved a lot of those.
Yep.
And for me, though, it's special. It's just special. I mean, I'm not saying that I'm unique, but if someone else in this town or wherever you are has a dream, invest your time, invest your life into it, and your life, destiny will unroll in front of you. You know what I mean? And if it doesn't, so what? You did what you wanted to do your entire fucking life, and most people don't have that. You know what I mean? They're slaves to their job. They're slaves to whatever, and then they work a 9 to 5, and then they die, and nobody remembers you. And if that's okay with you, that's fine.
Right.
That's fine. I'm not saying
it's important that people understand there's nothing wrong with that.
If you have a big dream, go for it.
Right.
So that's one of my driving forces, is to especially show people here in Syracuse. Stop telling me to get the fuck out of Syracuse. I don't need to go to Hollywood to make a movie.
Right.
Filmed the one last year, filmed the commercial earlier this year that's running the whole NFL season. Like,
right.
I'm here. And if I can do it, that fat kid from West Jetty can do it, you can fucking do it. You know what I mean?
So I went to a conference in 2020 in Las Vegas, okay? And it was a business conference, and this conference featured celebrities like of the highest tier. Floyd Mayweather Jr. was there. John Travolta was there, Magic Johnson, Scooter Braun, who is Justin Bieber's manager, Brad Parscale, who was Donald Trump's campaign manager, Dana White, president of the UFC, was there. And tell me your thoughts on this. Okay, this is just me, again, speaking on the me, but one thing that I continue to notice when I meet people of notoriety, people of accomplishment, people who are a force to be reckoned with in their industry, in their space, whatever the case may be, right, I'm continually impressed and disappointed at the same time.
Okay.
And when I say disappointed, I don't mean disappointed in that it takes the wind out of my sails or it demotivates me. I mean that my whole life I've expected to meet these people, right? Famous people, millionaires, actors, athletes, whatever the case may be. And I expect that I go meet them and their skin is thicker and their hair is shinier and their blood is got different makeup to it and they've got a trail of a glowing dust that follows it. Like I think my mind intrinsically wanted to see that they just were something different than I was, right? Yeah. Because I think that would allow me to justify, okay, well, I'm not going to get there. It's okay that I don't get there because these people have this, or they were born with that, or this has been given to them, or their dad made that, or whatever the case may be. What I continually find is that these are just people, right? The one thing that every single one of those people, when they did a keynote, said in their own little way, and because if you go back to my notepad, I took notes on every single one. And what I did was I kind of took them all and laid them out and I circled the common things in the most successful people. And the thing that they all shared in common, man, was they all started with, I was just a this, or I was just a that. I was just a, Dana White was a bellhop, right? Floyd Mayweather was just, a kid sweeping the floor and boxing at his dad's gym. I may get that historically incorrect, but I mean, he wasn't born a person of stature, right? Brad Parscale worked his way up the chain. Scooter Braun was broke and scraped together the last $5 in his change dish to get Justin Bieber a pizza while he was preparing to tell Justin Bieber and his mother that he was full of shit. That he had spent every dollar that he had saved putting them up in a townhouse and showing them the Hollywood lifestyle in hopes that they would land a contract, and they hadn't. He was falling flat on his face, and he was just about to tell them that, listen, I failed you, I was full of shit, I sold you a bill of goods, and I couldn't produce. And then the phone call came. And it was an offer for millions, you know what I mean, an endorsement or a record deal, whatever the case, whatever it was. what I continue to find and have found and has continued to motivate me is that there's no special sauce, man. There's no magic to it. There's just fucking devotion. There is desire. There is work ethic. There is luck sometimes, right? But I find that luck seems to follow the people that work hard, you know, in so that it's not really luck, right? They've created more opportunities, and the more opportunity, it's just like if you buy a fucking scratch-off ticket, there's a chance you win $5, there's a chance you win 5 million. You buy 100,000 scratch-off tickets, your chances of getting rich are a hell of a lot better. So if your work ethic is that it, you know, you've just got this unstoppable, you know, murderous work ethic, the opportunities are going to present themselves more frequently, right? So when you go to these meets and you go to these competitions and you meet these people that are world record holders, that are, you know, the fitness gurus, that are the high society of that industry, do you find that they have something that you don't, or that there's something intrinsically special about them that causes them to meet success? Or do you kind of share the same line of thinking that I do, that they're just fucking people?
Share the exact same line of thinking that you do. I mean, I've met a lot of celebrities. I've had the opportunities to work with some big name people, you know, 50 Cent. You know, everybody think that.
Does he talk like this when he talks? Is he almost like Bernie Mac? Everything just real flowing.
No,
like
they talked about business.
Oh, no
they
shit.
talked about their next moves.
Yeah.
They didn't talk about hood shit, gang shit, shooting people,
whipping
drugs,
crack.
none of that shit.
Yeah.
They talked about their next business moves. That's what they talked about. Yeah. You know, same thing, you know, Ron Perlman, Keith David. They just talked about what was next.
Right.
And they all were keeping themselves so busy that, you know, they got those opportunities, like you just said.
Yeah.
You know, they kept grinding, even though they've arrived somewhere that they feel like they need to arrive.
Yep.
And they just keep going after it, and then opportunities keep presenting themselves because of their work ethic.
It's another thing
Absolutely.
I found in
I agree
common.
with everything you just said.
I appreciate that. That's another thing I found in common with these people. And I'm starting to adapt this mindset and this kind of frustration myself in recent months and this past year with all these projects, is that there's just not enough hours in the day, right? These guys that I met, guys and girls at this convention and at various other places where I've been able to align myself with some pretty upper tier individuals. And when I say upper tier, I mean nothing other than high producers, right? High income, high output, high energy. And that is that their best qualities are the ability to manage time, right? These are people that, you know, wake up and when they sit down to take their morning shit, there's a yellow legal pad next to them so they can prioritize their day, right? And when they get in the truck and they start to drive to work, they're on a morning Zoom call because they have to get that sales meeting out of the way, and they want to do it before they get to the office, because when they get to the office, they already have a workload that they have to accomplish within the first 3 hours of the day. And that's something that I struggle with, is time management, because I probably have some ADD in that I get a lot accomplished during the day, but I have a difficult time finishing a task. You know, I'll get through a day and I'll have a lot done, but it's all, you know, 30% of this task done, 40% of that task done, and drawing something to completion is where, you know, where I find it.
Let me ask you this: are the tasks that you are, you know, that you get your ADD kicks in on, is it something that you're super passionate about still?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, because I'm passionate about a lot of things.
Because I'll have some goals that I'm trying to do, but I'm not super passionate about.
Yeah.
And then, you know, I'll be like, well, this goal is a little more important, so let's just let that go.
Put them on the back burner. I get it.
Everyday things too. You know what I mean?
100%. So I want to change gears a little bit, right? So I want to talk about a few things that are a little bit more taboo. And the reason I want to do this is because when you and I have had some conversations when we've seen each other at the auction, one of the things that was striking to me and was so, for lack of better words, just awesome. I walked away from the conversations going, holy shit, it is possible for two people who are big meathead motherfuckers, who are, you know, full of testosterone, who are, you know, motivated, who are forces to be reckoned with, can have a really intelligent, logical discourse and, wait for it, have differing opinions, right? Because I think that's a problem right now. And correct me if you think I'm wrong, but I watch, you know, a lot of the news, and I do so more so for entertainment purposes, because the amount of fact.
Well, because it has become entertainment.
It's fucking insane, man.
Which is a problem.
You can watch Fox News and literally feel like someone has a collar, a leash and a collar on you, pulling you in one direction. Then you can watch CNN and feel like someone is literally in a polar opposite direction, pulling you in that direction. And there's not one channel you can watch where you feel like they're just kind of lightly guiding you down the middle like a kitten with a ball of yarn. It just doesn't fucking exist, right? Everybody's got an agenda. So, and that's another reason that I do Man of the Free, is because there's other portions of this show where I speak directly to the audience, and I'm weeding through the bullshit for them, right? We had a conversation regarding COVID, okay, and we had differing opinions on that, on some things, just regarding vaccination, and I think I honestly don't remember. It obviously wasn't anything where the difference in opinion was so striking that I had angst or was upset about it. I just remember that we didn't exactly have the exact same thoughts on it, and it was impressive to me, and you were impressive to me, because I remember thinking to myself, everybody sees a meathead, everybody sees a Republican, everybody sees a conservative, everybody sees a
liberal.
What's that?
Liberal.
Liberal?
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking more.
Oh, I'm talking about differing sides.
Oh, yeah,
They'll see a
yeah.
conservative. They'll see a liberal. They'll see a patriot. They'll see a snowflake. They'll see, you know what I mean?
Yeah, in general, I feel like when people see,
You're talking about when people look at you?
look at a big, strong white male.
Oh, yeah.
I think people's preconceived notions are that guy is racist. I think, and this is media driven. I'm not saying that this is what people would naturally. This is what would occur to them naturally on their own, but I believe because of what this fucking media in this country has done, is that a guy that looks like you have a shaved head, you have a goatee, you look like you could hop off a Harley and you would fit, okay? Right. You're a big son of a bitch, you got sneakers on, you're a weightlifter, you're white, you're tattooed up, you're male. Right. I think that most people who watch the media or pay attention to any sort of news that's in the mainstream, they see you, they think, okay, flag flying, Donald Trump loving, Republican, anti-vaxxer, pro-life, all these things, because they paint it with such a broad brush. Okay, so what I kind of want to do for the audience is show them that that's not the case at all. So, for instance, let me ask you this question: would you say that your views on politics are more to the right or more to the left?
I would say they're more to the left.
More to the left.
If we're going to distinguish it that way.
Which I don't like doing. But
I don't either.
I'm playing by the rules that are set forth for us. And I'm trying to dissect and discard for our audience all these preconceived notions. And I think it's going to blow their mind when they hear what you have to say. Now, Wyatt and I don't agree on everything, but the beautiful part about our discourse when we had it was that we would both, there was many times where I would say to him, wow, I didn't know that. That's interesting. And you would say to me, no shit, I didn't know that either. That was interesting. And it always ended with a fist bump or a handshake or, all right, man, have a good day. And I thought to myself, I got to get this guy on my fucking show, because the whole point of my show is to show people that, you know, we need to engage in discourse. This country doesn't begin to heal until you can have a conversation with your fellow man, woman, black, white, tall, short, green, Indian, fucking Native American, Indian, the country, India, Jew. That doesn't matter, right? They're another human being. They reside in this country. They are a citizen. They are your countrymen, right? So we don't always have to think the same things or feel the same ways, but for Christ's sake, we should respect one another. And
that's the point of America, is we're all supposed to have different viewpoints and get along. At the end of the day, we're Americans. We should have each other's back instead of being at each other's throats. I mean, back to security. I don't care what you felt. I don't care what religion you are. I don't care what color you are. I don't have to agree with anything you do. And you don't have I don't even have to like you. Right. I'm going to protect you when you're in my space.
Is it your job?
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And at the end of the day, I think it's everybody's job to look out for each other. I feel like as Americans, we are totally in this zone of, if it doesn't affect me, it doesn't fucking matter. You know what I mean?
I couldn't agree with you more. Yeah. Where do you think that comes from? Well, hang on a second. We good? Can we hear me? Okay. Where do you think that comes from?
I don't have an answer for that. Honestly, I do not know where that comes from at all. I feel like a lot of Americans currently are just being selfish about things. I mean, and from the security industry too, you see it. I mean,
give me an example.
You deny somebody for being out of dress code, and they come back and shoot up the club.
Right.
I mean, like what?
Yeah.
What if something real ever happened in your life? Could you imagine this person trying to deal with it?
No.
You just got denied from a nightclub. Go to another nightclub and spend your money.
100%.
What's the problem?
What is the
problem? You know what I mean? I mean, people are just completely polarized, and oh, you denied me because you're racist, or you denied me because I'm a homo. I mean, no. We denied you because you're 18. You got to be 21 to be here.
Right.
And then boom, 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 shoot up the club because you got denied.
Right.
I mean, it's absolutely absurd, and that's just one example.
So,
an example that is readily available in my mind.
Yeah, because it's relevant to what you do every single day. So I spend a lot of time watching, as much as I dislike it, I spend a lot of time watching the news. Like clips. I don't sit down and watch CNN for an hour because I would fucking cut my wrist, okay?
Kill myself.
Oh, my God. But
I don't watch the news at all, by the way. I can't.
You don't?
No.
Okay.
I feel like it's feeding you negativity.
So,
and you need to stay in a positive mindset just to get through everyday life.
I agree with you.
So if you're being fed negativity, no matter what you're watching, it's
going to bring you down.
It's warping you.
So the same way that the Notre Dame defense watches game film of the players that they play against and they hate, that's why I watch the news, okay? Because as I sit here in this studio talking to you, talking to any of my guests, or when I do my solos, my thoughts are always on how do I help these people understand, right? And I don't have it all figured out. But what I do know is that the bullshit that is spewed from the mouths of news anchors on a daily, and I'm not painting everybody with this brush, right? And I'm not going to name names because I'm not going to.
It's even in our local news, but go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not going to christen anybody or grant sainthood to anybody that I don't know personally, right? But I do believe there are some that are more passionate about truth and transparency than others. But when I watch the news and I see that somebody is discussing the raid on Donald Trump's home, and they cut over to it, and it's always the specialist, right? And we now cut to Alexandra Vargo, who is a Harvard professor, specialist on human studies, and they then have this person give this commentary that you're expected to accept as fact. It's the guy's fucking opinion, but you're expected to accept it as fact. Whatever he says, go. And it's always some guy sitting in front of a bookshelf. You ever fucking notice that, right? It's always a guy sitting in front of a bookshelf, okay?
Like I'm smart.
Oh yeah, it's like academia behind me. This means I'm smart. And they don't investigate. They don't talk about facts. They simply spew their opinion and their viewpoint on the scenario. And it's like, well, Barbara, I mean, obviously Donald Trump is showing his blatant racism when he says that he wants this case moved from this court because the circuit court judge, the presiding justice, is an African American, and just the inherent racists that are in his actions on a day. But it's like, wait a minute.
That was a great voice, by the way.
Thank you. Awesome. It's like, wait a minute. Can we take a step back? Right. Why was his home raided? Can we start with that? And they don't bother brushing on that. It's automatically assumed guilt. And I don't just mean Donald Trump. Even though that's another thing too that I find disgusting. There was a day and time when the news was there to investigate and to serve information to the general public on current events, right? You could go over the past 2.5 years, okay? And Donald Trump will be brought up on almost every nightly, if not every, I would even venture to say every nightly news episode, because he produces ratings, and because
very true,
it's an easy target. And I'm trying to discover when.
So that's about when I stopped watching news, because anytime my girl would have it on, I'd be like, why do they, if they don't like this guy so much, why do they keep mentioning him? I was like, when
ratings.
You make things go away by not talking about
100%, man.
You make things more popular when you keep on talking about
Absolutely.
them. And I think that led into partial reason why he was eventually elected was because there was just so much anti-talk and so much good talk that people that were his supporters were like, oh my God, they hate him, they're bad. Now we're going to get more voters. So in a way, they helped him. And they continue to help him by talking about
100%, man. 100%.
What I want to say, too, I just want to make this statement, too. This left, right, red, blue shit is absolutely ridiculous. We are all Americans. Everybody should have each other's back. I want to reiterate that 150%. I think at the end of the day, you talk about media, news, stuff, agendas, whatever. They want people fighting against each other.
100%.
Instead of having an actual educated conversation.
100%.
This is how I feel. This is how I feel. I respect you. That guy fucked with you. Okay, we'll go beat his ass together. You know what I mean? That guy, tried to, murder your wife, okay, we'll go
Right.
take care of the situation.
100%. What's wrong is wrong.
Whatever's going on
Right.
in the world. And it's unfortunate that we're at that state right now that no one can sit down and talk about it. I mean, so we'll talk about, we've been speaking about social media. So
Go there, because I was just about to jump in.
A video was made about me, by a news station in 2014. 2016, all of a sudden it went viral. And all the comments in the comment section were anti-women, anti-this,
They were calling you these things?
No. They were against what I was saying. And the point of the video...
It was a video.
It was me working at a strip club, and I said, at the end of the day, no one's going to disrespect these women in front of me. At the end of the day, everybody has a mom, and women shouldn't be disrespected.
Yep.
They bring life into this world.
Yeah.
We can't, you know what I mean? Without women, we can't.
Who can't get behind that?
Done.
Who can't get behind that statement?
So it turned into this political thing around 2016, this video, and it went from 100,000 views to like 1.4 million in a year when it was made in 2014. And it was just reached 100,000, stayed there, and all of a sudden, boom, it went up to 1 million.
And why do you think that is?
Because of my rhetoric of standing up for women at the time.
Why do you think it went viral 2 years later?
Apparently everyone was all of a sudden polarized and, in my opinion, anti-women because there was a woman running, that it went crazy. It went crazy. And the majority of the comments were stuff like that. They were, women are whores, women are sluts, you're protecting whores, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're gonna get a bullet in the head for some whores, all this shit. And it was just crazy. And also social media. So I posted, my grandfather fought in World War II. God bless him.
Yeah, appreciate his service.
He was a fighter pilot, and he also flew bombers. So in a club, this guy is talking in what I would consider racist.
Okay.
Using the N-word, all this stuff, and I'm about to kick him out because we have people of color in the club.
Okay. So you find racism appalling?
I do, absolutely.
The white skinhead with the beard and the tattoo sitting next to me finds racism appalling.
To me, it's not acceptable in front of me. And at the end of the day, too,
They
by
wouldn't
removing
like that
this
you
guy,
said that, Wyatt.
by removing this guy, I'm also going to save him too, because he's going to get his fucking ass beat by this group of black guys over in the corner. So I walked up to him and I go, you know what, man? My grandfather killed a shit ton of Nazis in World War II, and I sleep like a fucking baby every night knowing that fact. I was like, I need you to get up and get the fuck out of my bar.
Oh, he was talking like a Nazi?
He was talking racist. He was saying shit about Jews too. It was weird.
Okay.
He was on some kind of rant. It was strange.
Interesting.
So I posted that conversation on Facebook. And I got...
The conversation between you and him?
I posted my line. That was
okay.
it. I said, how I end a racist conversation.
Yeah.
My grandfather killed a shit ton of Nazis in World War II, and I sleep like a fucking baby, knowing that fact.
Yeah.
And it did end the conversation. The guy walked out. I didn't even have to pick him up, nothing. He walked out of the fucking bar.
Gotcha.
I received...
You're not exactly a small guy.
Well, that too. I received, I want to say, half a dozen death threats in my inbox. So someone took that post and put it on some fucking white supremacist page or some shit.
Yeah.
Saying, we ever see you, we're going to kill you. I doubt you're... Then they were calling my grandfather the N-word too. Well, my grandfather is in a book that's in the World War II museum about fighter pilots. You know what I mean? He's a war hero.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So he flew several missions where he was the only one that ended up coming back. Because back then, it wasn't, when you took off in that plane, technology wasn't as great as it is now. You didn't know what was going to happen.
100%.
And that we were at war. So, that for me, how I felt and how I feel, it was because of what was going on in politics at the time that was promoting this type of thinking. And I start receiving, and I've been on social media for years.
Promoting what type of thinking?
I think there was a lot of white supremacy talk going on throughout the whole Donald Trump.
Give me an example. That interests me.
So, Charlottesville. And this is where Donald Trump lost me. I was giving him the benefit of the doubt. He's our president.
Okay.
And I'm going to support who our president is, whatever.
Right.
So Charlottesville, well, when he's interviewed about it, there's good people on both sides. One side was fucking Nazi white supremacist motherfuckers. That's a fact. There's documentaries about it, and now there's documentaries since those guys that were once Nazi white supremacist motherfuckers are like, oh, I regret doing that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And one side was fighting against that. So to me, how is that good people on both sides?
Have you watched the clip, though?
So I have watched the clip in the entirety now, right?
Because that's not what he said.
So, well, that is what he said.
He said those words, but it was taken out of context.
But before that, right? Before that, he did say, I do not condone white supremacy.
Well, and then after the fact, they asked him during that interview. There was a reporter chimed in with, "Do you denounce white supremacists?" And he talked over her because she interrupted him. Right. And then after the fact, somebody asked him in an interview, said, "Listen, they're drawing a lot of controversy over this because you didn't denounce me." He says, "What do you mean I didn't denounce it?" And they played it in the video, and he's like, "I was in the middle of talking."
Who were the good people on the other side then?
I think what he was trying to do is he was trying to not polarize. Because I've actually watched him be interviewed about this, and I watched it in context. And this is just my opinion, because I happen to know, I've done a lot of research on Donald Trump, and I happen to know that Donald Trump is not racist. Okay,
I'm not saying he inherently is. I'm saying that there was a lot of people that follow him that inherently are.
Well, of course.
Yeah.
I mean, there's also a lot of people that follow Joe Biden that are, that hate white people. You know what I mean? So I can't.
That's true too.
I can't say because Donald Trump is a white, would like you to think he's blonde-haired, male, represents upper class. So anybody who, and he's very patriotic and he's very conservative, right? So anybody who aligns with that white supremacist, KKK, any of that line of thinking, naturally they're going to gravitate to him. Naturally they're going to gravitate toward the Republican candidate. But the guy immediately after in an interview denounced what they said. Will you denounce? He says, absolutely, I'll denounce him.
I saw that.
So the whole Charlottesville
thing.
So
I understand that part. But then what's the point of the line of there's good people on both sides and there's bad people on both sides? Because if there was a bunch of white supremacists rallying in Syracuse, I would be the person on the side trying to stop it.
Of course. But what he was saying was
there was a bad person on the other side?
Not at all.
Because I do not want that in my town?
No, not at all. I mean? Not at all. But he was addressing the crowd, meaning there was good people on both sides that day. Meaning, I think, this is just my interpretation of it. I think what he was trying to say is not everybody that was over there was bad. Not everybody that was over here was good. There was good people on both sides, right? But to me, where I kind of saw through the bullshit was when they said, "Do you denounce white supremacists?" Absolutely, I think they're disgusting.
And I did see how the media only played the one part and didn't play that part. And I did point that out to several of my friends, and including my girlfriend. I was like, "Well, they didn't play the whole clip."
Correct.
Because in the beginning of the clip, he goes, "Oh, of course I do. Of course I denounce that."
Right. Cavalier. Like, why would you even ask such a question? Right. So then CNN, excuse me, went on a tirade for weeks and weeks about the Charlottesville issue, and he's a white supremacist, when there was absolutely, without a doubt, an interview where he denounced white supremacists. He made it very clear that he was not made it very clear he did not support that, made it very clear that he thought racism was disgusting, and said everything that they were asking him to say and gave it to him where they could have just taken it and said, okay, this solves all those problems. But they didn't do it. So when they don't do that, what to me, that's guilt by omission. Like, you have exactly what you said you wanted. You said Donald Trump won't denounce these white. No, he did. Right there. There it is. Why didn't you take that, print a retraction? Why didn't you take that, put it front and center? And that's, to me, when the media has, that's why they've lost all credibility with me.
Absolutely.
You know what they also didn't show? They don't, you know who Judge Joe Brown is?
I do.
Okay. Judge Joe Brown did an interview with, I think it was, don't fucking blow me up in the comments for misquoting this, people, because I'm saying right now I'm not sure what it was. I want to say it was either with Charlemagne or it was with a prominent black figure who was doing an interview. They might be a YouTuber, they might be, I can't remember. But what I do remember is Judge Joe Brown was answering questions to this person about politics and the climate of politics, and Donald Trump got brought up. And he said, "Do you think Donald Trump's a racist?" And I mean, immediately, no, I don't. And he goes, "Now, why do you think that is?" He goes, "Well, because, listen to me, brother. back in the 80s and the 90s, I had a lot of friends that were, entrepreneurs and in business, black entrepreneurs, right? And they were going to banks and they were trying to get loans. And because during that time, there was still a lot of racism in the conventional lending space, and they didn't have all the equal lending laws and well, basically that and the fair trade practices, but the equal lending laws, meaning everybody that met a certain profile, regardless of skin color, race, religion, whatever, had to be lent the same amount of money under the same circumstances. And he goes, so at that time, it was very hard for a black man or a black entrepreneur to get a loan. And I remember a lot of people telling me when these entrepreneurs would be coming looking for money, and they'd say, hey, tell him to go see Trump, tell him to go see Trump, go see Donald Trump. And he said, go see Trump. Okay, I'll tell him to go see Trump. So they went and they saw Donald Trump. And then after the fact, he went back to these people and he asked them, say, what happened? They said, well, I went and saw Donald Trump and he lent me the money. And he lent me the money on a hard money loan, which traditionally is like a mob, money shark, loan shark. Yeah, you pay the points, we break your leg, that type of thing. Yep. Meaning it's not borrow 30 grand, pay me $1,000 a month for 36 months. I make $6,000 in interest and your loans over. It's here's 100 grand. Yeah, I'll see you in a year.
Pay me 15 back.
Right.
On top of it.
That too, but more so, you pay it all back at one time.
Right.
Okay. Meaning you borrow 100 grand from me right now. You owe it back to me in 24 months. Right. And on the 24th, the 24th month on the 31st day or whatever the case may be, you got to give me 125 grand. I want 25% interest, and it needs to be all on that day. Right. They would go back to Donald Trump and they would hand him the check. Yeah. And he would say, and these are young black entrepreneurs in New York City in the 80s and 90s. And he would say, this is what you owe me? And they'd say, yep. He goes, with all the interest, everything? And they'd say, yep. He'd rip it up in front of them and throw it in the trash can and say, congratulations, you beat the odds. Now go run your business.
That's awesome.
It's a $100,000 donation, right?
That's awesome. Yeah.
So how are you racist
right.
when you're willing to do that?
Right.
How are you racist when you're willing to denounce white supremacy? Here's what I think about Donald Trump. I think Donald Trump is an old guy who was raised in a time where black people did not have the same social prowess as they do now.
Right.
I think that when we're a product of our environment, right? So the same way that you've got people that will say, young black guys in the inner cities, they're
thugs,
underserved because, they're incarcerated at higher rates because they're black, right? I disagree with that, okay? Right. Now, do I think that there are racial crimes that are committed against young black men? Absolutely. Anybody that questions that fact is living in a fantasy world, right? There are racist cops. They kill black people. It happens, okay? I will also tell you that there are racist black cops that hate white guys that have committed comparable crimes, okay? Does it happen in the same ratio? I don't believe so. I think that there still is racism. I think that there still is problems that need to be solved. Do I think that it is to the extent that the media would like you to believe? Absolutely not. Because there's not. If it was, you'd have a story every day, right? Yeah. George Floyd wouldn't have been such a big deal to be made about that, because there would have been one right after and one the next day and one the next day. If it was really happening at the volumes that they would like you to believe that it happens, okay, it'd be shoved in your face every single day, and the left wingers would be having fucking parties and breaking piñatas every 5 minutes, okay? Because unfortunately they champion that. They love that when it happens, because they're not worried about the tragedy of the situation. They're worried about driving their point home and getting their bill passed, which is disgusting to me. The amount of virtue signaling that happens, the amount of people that say they're about something, like for instance the whole Martha's Vineyard thing. Did you hear about that with Ron DeSantis, the governor of Florida?
Yeah, supposedly shipping people to.
He did.
Yeah,
50. So here's what happened. Martha's Vineyard, there's been an influx of people coming over the border, right? Texas. The border towns of Texas have essentially said, you got to shut this up. We can't handle these people. It's, we're inundated with migrant flow. There's garbage everywhere. They're making tents and camps along the border, et cetera, et cetera. We've had the highest level of immigration into this country in history. Like, I don't know the statistics, but I wanted to say a number that I heard was like 7 million within a particular time frame. But it was the most in history, because somebody interviewing Kamala Harris asked her about it, and that was the number. And what he said after the number was, it's the most in history, okay? So these border towns basically said, we can't take it, we can't have it. So immediately the ridiculous left, political left, started using the word sanctuary city, okay? Martha's Vineyard claimed to be a sanctuary city. And what they meant by this—
Syracuse.
is a sanctuary city? Okay. So what that means is,
whatever that means.
if you what it means is we are a sanctuary to migrants, people claiming political asylum. They can come here. They're safe here. We'll accept them here. Well, isn't it really fucking convenient that towns that are 1,500 miles north of where the problem area is are able to virtue signal and say that, oh, we're sanctuary cities, okay? So now let me ask you a question. If you claim to be a sanctuary city, wouldn't you welcome migrants?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, that's pretty much the logical conclusion, right? If you're going to go out and stand on a podium and look into the camera and say, we're a sanctuary city, what they're saying down at the border is racist, it's xenophobic, it's whatever, their word of the day is, that they're unaccepting. And of course, painting with the political brush of you're a Republican, you're a racist, you're a white supremacist, you're a ultra MAGA, you're whatever, right? You would think then logically, okay, so you would be okay having some migrants come up here and live, right? That would be the logical conclusion. Okay, so Ron DeSantis, who has flaws just like any other human being, but I believe politically is one of the most sound-minded and logical and even-keeled people in the space today, simply said this: we're going to take 50 people. We're going to provide them transportation. We're going to give them McDonald's gift certificates. Now, the exact specifics will be askew, but this is the general. Going to give them a phone. We're going to give them some food. Going to give them a little spending money. We're going to put them up in hotels, give them accommodations, and we're going to land them in Martha's Vineyard because it's a sanctuary city. We're going to put 50 of them there, see how they do, and then if those guys do well, we're going to start bringing some more, okay? Martha's Vineyard called the National Guard to have these 50 migrants removed. They wanted them out within 24 hours. And when the media came up and interviewed some of the townspeople and some of the whether they were common councilors or the mayor or whatever, they were political figures in that town. They said, we have a housing crisis. We're inundated with these people, these migrants. There was 50. That's 10 times 5, okay? One busload. We can't sustain this. We just can't deal with this. And Ron DeSantis they vilified him, saying that he was taking advantage and he was using them as a political figure, okay? Now, is there some validity to that? There is. Of course there is, okay? But it's one of those things like, is there necessary casualties to try to prove a point? Now, if he had just dropped them off there and said, go fuck yourself, it's one thing.
At the same time, what's the point?
The point was this, to show.
So we're against sanctuary cities, so we're going to send these people to a sanctuary city just out of the blue as a prank?
No.
I mean, I don't understand.
No, the point was it transpired exactly how he knew it was going to transpire, which is they were virtue signaling, saying, we're a sanctuary city. Florida, Texas, you're wrong for saying that you have too many immigrants. You should be welcoming them in. And you know what? We're a sanctuary city. If they want to come here, they can come here. So he sends them there. Let me finish. So he sends them there, and they kick them out. And they send them to a military base. They jail them, and then they deport them. The point being, you're a sanctuary city, here's 50 people. Do me a favor, help them out, feed them, house them, give them a job, take care of them in your sanctuary city. The sanctuary city then said, well, we can't take them. This is ridiculous. You're an asshole. Get them out of here.
Now, why wouldn't the politicians get a hold of the other politicians and say, let's set up this program and do it instead of just dumping them there?
Well, of course, there's flaws on both sides.
Yeah.
But let me ask you a question. If you're claiming it's not someone didn't come to you and ask you. You went to the limelight and you championed the fact that you're a sanctuary city, okay? A guy says, okay, if you're a sanctuary city, we land 50 people up there. Wouldn't you think, as a political move, you would say, perfect, let me put them in the Ritz-Carlton, let me get them a fucking Nintendo Switch, a couple cold beers, a steak, let's bring them down to City Hall, let's give them a key to the city, and really make a point. You would, right? That'd be a smart move.
I mean, at the same time, someone's claiming to be the toughest bouncer in the world. And so I don't like that dude, so I'm going to send 50 of the guys that I think are pretty tough down to his club. And those 50 guys beat him to death in the whole club.
But that's not the same thing.
Yeah, but it's an analogy that it's like, obviously nobody was killed. You know what I mean?
Right, but they said, but that bouncer didn't say, I'm the toughest bouncer, I'll fight anybody.
So let's say he did.
Let's say he did.
So who was wrong in that situation?
The guy that said, I'm the toughest bouncer, send all your people here and I'll fight them.
Well,
that's how it looks logically to me.
He holds some merit. He holds some responsibility. But
But why did he
Just
say
out of
that?
the blue,
Let's go back
out
to
of
that.
the blue, sending 50 tough guys. You're probably the one that's going to go to jail.
Why did you
sent
out
those
of the
people there
blue
to kill
say
him,
send them to
or
me?
to fight him or whatever?
But so then why did he out of the blue say send them to me?
Well, that's just how they feel. We're going to be a sanctuary city. For
Why?
people.
Why would they say that?
Because they want people that are here or that are coming here to be safe and not at threat of ICE or being deported.
So then why didn't they keep them and house them?
I don't know, man.
And that's where I think
I don't know.
that's where I think what I'm saying can be well received, is because if the answer to the question is then I don't know, I do know, because it was posturing.
Well, usually that type of stuff is done bureaucratically. Like I just said, you get a hold of, like let's say they get a hold of our mayor, if it was happening here. Hey, I want to send you 50 people. I don't have room for them down here. You want to set up, some apartments or whatever. Do you have the capability of doing this? Oh yeah, absolutely, whatever. Or no, we don't. And that's how it would be set up, instead of just randomly dropping people down.
And that was the exact point. And that's what
Well, I get the point, but at the same time, I mean, I think it's a dickhead move.
Well, so
in my opinion.
I'm not, you're misunderstanding me. I didn't say that it was a good move.
Okay.
It proved a point very well.
Right.
Because the same way you just said, well, why didn't you call me and give me the chance to prepare for it? That was exactly his point. These people don't call us and say, hey, we'll be on the shores at 4 a.m. with our coyotes and our rigid inflatable. Right. We're going to walk into the town hall. We're going to wait on the steps until the police get there the following morning and escort us to where we go. They have coyotes bring them in the middle of the night. They pack their backpacks with fentanyl. Right. Then they send them off to the cells to be shipped off and trafficked and whatever the case may be. So the point that he was making was, they're trying to impress upon them that they should be behaving in a certain fashion, right? But when it came into their own backyard, they did not also behave in that fashion. So the point being, Florida, you get startled in the middle of the night with these unexpected guests. You should accept them. You should welcome them. You should warm them. Or you should warmly welcome them, give them a place to stay, okay? When they come in 1,500, 7,000, 15,000 at a time.
Who's saying that they should?
The same people that said we're a sanctuary city. The political left right now, right now, what's going on at the southern border is Texas, Florida, the border states are saying, listen, this is insane. Right. Here's what happened. Donald Trump created a policy called Remain in Mexico. And here's what it said. And this is where the media then goes off again. They say, oh, it's a racist policy. It doesn't want immigration. No, all the policy said was, if you want to come here and claim political asylum, you may do so through the proper channels legally. Here's what's going to happen. You make it across the border. You say that I'm a political prisoner, or I've got bad living conditions. I need asylum. We're going to say, okay, we're going to set you a court hearing. It's going to be in 38 days, and you'll have due process. And if we believe that you meet the criteria,
those 38 days, you're going to stay over.
You got to go back to Mexico. Right. You don't just get to come over here and post up and hang out, because we don't have the ability to house you. We don't have the ability to police you, and we can't. We're not willing to try to discover and find out and dictate if you're a rapist, a murderer, a sex offender, a drug trafficker, a cartel member. We'll do that, but we're not going to do it while you're sitting on our front lawn. Right. Get back over there, hang out for a minute, and if you end up being everything that you claim you are, we will welcome you back over and we'll introduce you into our economy, get you a place to live, et cetera, et cetera. Right. So they've gotten rid of that. The Biden administration has gotten rid of that. Right. Remain in Mexico. They've said, no, that's racist. It's a racist policy. They've opened up the border completely. People are coming in droves. The most people have crossed our southern border in the United States this year than in history by a long shot. Right. And the constituencies of these Texas congressmen, senators, governor is saying like there's films of farmers going in their backyard, and there's just droves of people coming over, walking through their fields, around their cattle, across. Like, that's your backyard. That's where you live, right? And the point is, okay, Donald Trump's whole thing, and I'm not championing Donald Trump. I'm just, when something is logical, I will defend it, okay? Right. His idea was, let's build a wall all the way across the border and have several openings. At those openings, just like a fucking amusement park, okay? You bring in, you check to see if you're tall enough to ride this ride. You get your tickets, you pay your entry, you do it the right way, we'll let you in. You fuck up, we'll kick you out, but we'll let you in as long as you do it the right way, okay? And then the response, I mean, most people, the same way you're going, right. It's logical line of thinking.
Well, let's just say.
Sure.
the wall, right? I'm not sure if I agree with the wall being logical. And the biggest wall that was ever built, I believe, was built pre-Donald Trump, too, on that border. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, I believe there was wall or fence there beforehand,
right.
Yep.
And that didn't really work.
Well, it wasn't complete.
Will fly over, they'll dig under, they'll get over, however they're going to get over.
I disagree with that whole.
And I feel like that's a lot of money to spend when we do have our own problems here.
The people that are crossing the border at the 7 million per year, they don't have the ability to fly.
Okay.
Some of them do. Yeah. I agree with you. There's other ways to get over.
We're talking about cartels, right?
I'm talking about...
Because we said we're going to see if you're cartels, if you're rapists, if you're murderers.
Just going to screen
the cartels absolutely have.
Of course they do.
They can do whatever the fuck they want. They're probably
resources.
Here right now.
Yeah, unfortunately, we know they are.
They are here.
Yes.
Right. So...
But the 7 million, they don't have
right.
puddle jumpers to hop over with. They don't have the resources to dig underground. Is there always going to be attempts to circumvent it? Yes, but and there's always going to be people getting across the border. But the plan was, let's try to get it under control, and we did for a long period of time. We had very low immigration rates. We had very low crime rates. The drug rates were good. Everything. So that's another thing about Trump that I think people discounted completely is he's a business guy and a numbers guy. He looks at flow charts. He looks at graphs. He looks at numbers. And he would always say, and he'd always catch shit in the interviews, our numbers are great on this. Our numbers are great on this. And people would break his balls. Oh, he's always the numbers and we're the best. And that's how you operate when you do things at scale. Right. Like you own it, like Jeff Bezos. I promise you, he looks at numbers and charts and flow charts. Right. Elon Musk does the same thing. Sir Richard Branson does the same thing. The Pentagon does the same thing. Right. And this guy, just the way he spoke about it, it was a little too business-esque that they broke his balls about it. But in reality, all he did was he looked at large statistics and the flow of them, whether they were in a positive and negative direction. He would take a chess piece, he would move it. 30 days later, he would look at the numbers. He would say, okay, the numbers got better. That chess piece is good. Let's move another chess piece, right? It was very methodical in what he did. And what the media doesn't tell you, if you look over the 4 years of the Trump administration, I'm not going to say that would be an asinine statement to make, but a large majority of indicators in this country, like gross domestic product, immigration, drug penetration, overdose deaths, all these numbers went in a positive direction. And he just couldn't shut the fuck up, right? Yeah. He couldn't stay off of Twitter.
I mean, one of the things, we'll go back to... one of the things that I disliked was just every single fucking day I woke up because of the rhetoric.
Yeah.
I felt like, well, today's the day that the Civil War is going to start. And I feel like some people in politics still feel like maybe that is something that should happen here in America. And as I've stated several times already, at the end of the day, we need to have each other's backs.
Of course.
Not them.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I feel like a lot of people... And maybe this is before him, but maybe I wasn't even paying attention until now.
Okay.
Became obsessed with politics. Like every single moment of their life is because of who the president is. If you want to make a difference, look locally. Think about who's running shit locally. At the end of the day, whoever our president is necessarily, and a lot of people feel the same way, it doesn't affect my everyday life. And I don't allow it to.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't. And there's like this obsession with, I'll talk to some of my best friends are Trump supporters. I'm here right now talking with you. I consider you a friend of mine.
Of course.
You know what I mean? My weightlifting partner is my whole life. That guy, huge Trump supporter. I love him. It's all good. Mm-hmm. But while this stuff was going on, it was like they were heightened by everything. And then when he didn't get reelected, whatever the argument is, whether it was stolen or not, whatever, I feel like it's been studied enough to realize that it wasn't. But if other people still feel like it's stolen, good for you. Cool. Everything is now a certain president's fault. Like, while Trump was in office, I wasn't sitting around being like, oh, fucking Trump. Goddamn, he did this today. I mean, at the end of the day, I really don't give a shit who our president is. The local people is what makes a difference. Our local judges, our local mayors, our local governors, they're the people if we want something changed in our immediate area, in our everyday life, that's who we need to focus on. Too many people were just so off the rails of just blaming everything. We are where we are because of this. Your life's fucked up because of you.
Yeah.
Not because of who's sitting in that Oval Office, which, by the way, we want to talk about great things and stuff that I have half of my family that's Mexican. So that was another thing that I just couldn't get behind.
Okay.
For whatever reason.
Was what?
I couldn't get behind. All of a sudden, you're seeing videos more and more of go back to your fucking country or where you're from. The Mexican side of me, we come from.
What are you referring to? 'Cause I didn't see that.
You didn't see any of that?
Go back to your fucking country.
Well, there was a lot of stuff going on where people were like, oh, you don't like it? Go back to your fucking country. When at the end of the day,
In response
the
to
native,
something?
whatever it would be, an argument in the street, hey, go back to your fucking country, you don't fucking like it. Oh, you don't like Donald Trump, go back to your fucking country, you don't fucking like it. Wait a minute. America is based off people coming here.
See, I
And
experienced
it always has been.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I witnessed situations where people said, then you should go back to your country if you feel that way. I didn't. Here's what I witnessed. And I said it myself.
Right.
Okay. Somebody.
You have seen none of the videos of people saying, oh, you don't like Trump,
when you
go
say
back to your
videos, you mean
fucking country.
like somebody filming two
Viral
people
YouTube
arguing or
videos,
something like that?
social media videos, all that shit.
And I'm being perfectly honest with you, and I could have, and it just didn't resonate with me, but I don't recall ever seeing a video where someone said, if you don't like Donald Trump, go back to your fucking country.
If you don't like it, if you don't like this, if you don't like Donald Trump, go back. I've seen several videos like that.
So here's what I have seen, and here's what I've actually said, okay? I get a young liberal, woke, whatever word you want to use, strongly progressively leftist individual coming to me saying that the United States is fundamentally racist and the United States is fundamentally oppressive, or when they start talking about the United States as an evil, derelict, oppressive place.
Right.
What I would say to them then is, so why are you here?
Right.
Because, not go back to your own country, because I think that would, the implication would be that they were an immigrant, right? In order for them to go back, they got to have come from somewhere. But what I did do many times was say to somebody who was, that fucking Donald Trump, he's this and he's that and he's a racist and this country is so fucking racist and we are just so homophobic and so racist and this just the way we treat people and this country was founded on racism.
There's speaking points on both sides.
Right. This was the general ideology that the United States was bad.
Yeah.
Okay. And my response was then, I'm not going to argue fundamentals with you. I'm simply going to ask you, why haven't you moved to a different country that's better?
Because this is the best country around, man.
Right.
Why would they?
Well, exactly. That's exactly my point. My point was that they were contradicting themselves. Okay. And I would say to them, so what you're saying is you hate the president, you hate the country, you hate the politics. It's all bullshit, right? Yes. Do you think that you should be able to say that? Well, of course, right? Okay, so that's your birthright, is to be able to have discourse regarding politics and
so freedom
speak
of speech,
offensively.
I think, is a line too. But go ahead.
Is a line?
There's a line. To me, freedom of speech is great, but if your speech promotes hatred and murder and racism and bullshit,
I
don't think you should be able to talk.
But there's laws against that too. You know what I mean? Like if someone says, all black people are the N-word, you know what I mean? That's,
and you get beat up, in my opinion, good.
You deserve to get your ass kicked. Exactly. 100%. No, what I'm saying is people saying that that the country's fundamentally bad. And here's why. I've got a lot of friends.
So what was their response to you when you said, then why are you here?
I probably will. Oh. That's what you get. I probably will, or eventually I'm going to, or I'm going to Canada, or this or that.
I don't give a shit.
And that was the thing. I'm like, but so do it.
Yeah, right.
So you know what I'm going to do? Here's the thing. I'm not particularly fond of New York at all. I really dislike it here. Okay, I vacation places, and for instance, Florida. I've vacationed to Florida, and
you'd fit in Florida. I
love it there. I love it.
Besides your political values, you would fit in there. You look like a beach guy.
Well, thank you.
Jacked and tan.
I take that as a compliment. But the thing I found in Florida is that I could sit down in the food court next to a black family and be like, hey, man, I'm not going to finish this. I got 2 burgers. I'm only going to eat 1. Do you want it? Yeah, bro, thanks. And then the Cuban family next to me, like, oh my God, your daughter's so beautiful. Oh, papi, thank you. She's my little ojito. I love her. You know, there was no like, oh, fucking, thanks, bro. Like, I'm telling you right now, man, there's a different climate around race in New York versus Florida. And anybody who's traveled both places will agree with me that down there, it's everybody's everybody, right? And there's bad people anywhere you go.
I've traveled everywhere for weightlifting.
Yep.
Everywhere in America you can possibly travel. And I found that people are just generally nicer than they are, especially in Syracuse.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Sweethearts, everybody's nice. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. All this shit.
Yeah.
You know, back to the political side, I think a lot of people, I think education is key. I think conversation is key.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, they want to identify with something just to identify with something, to be a part of something. You know what I mean?
Spot the fuck on, Wyatt.
Like, what the fuck is
identify with something they don't even know what the fuck it is.
That's why I don't identify as either. I don't identify as left, as right. When you ask me that question, where would you lean towards?
Right.
I guess if you had to generalize, it would be leaning towards the left.
And you're only generalizing based upon the rules they give you. I don't agree with them.
And fuck those rules.
Yeah, I don't agree with
those
them.
rules. I own guns. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't, whatever. You know, I'm not going to let somebody talk shit, you know, some racist fucked up shit and be around me. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's you know, and I've done this, you know, like, I've asked, you know, do you like a free market?
Free market economy?
Yeah.
Absolutely, bro.
Do you believe in less government involvement in your everyday life?
1,000%.
All right. Do you believe in civil rights, equal opportunity for black and white people?
1,000%.
Do you believe in equal rights for men and women?
Absolutely.
You know, would it shock you that came out of the definition of what a liberal is?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it wouldn't shock me.
Right.
At all.
Right. So when people are online like, oh, this fucking libtard.
Yeah, libtard,
You don't even know what the fuck you're talking about.
100%, yeah.
You know, I mean, because they want everything you want by definition.
So did you ever stop and think that that's designed that way?
Oh, absolutely it is.
To make you miscategorize somebody and dislike them?
People wanted to identify as conservative. I mean, I find it hard. I'm not a religious dude. I am a spiritual person. But I'm not a religious dude. And one of the main things about the definition of conservative is that you identify and run your household based on a Judeo-Christian values. The majority of people I know that identify as conservative do not run their household on a Judeo-Christian values. And the ones that claim to do, they're the ones whose wife is banging everybody, they're banging everybody, but they're good old Christians because at home, they say their grace before they eat their fucking food.
Right.
You know what I mean?
They go to church every Sunday.
There's a lot of shit. Like, people just don't know. Education, again, is key. It's not like my father. My father was a professor.
Okay.
And he would say that to me, and I rebelled. I was like, fuck you. Yeah. I'm going to drop out of high school, do my own fucking thing anyways. You know, become successful without any of that shit.
Yep.
But, you know, do research for yourself. You know, don't just take someone's word as what's going on.
Could you say that one more time for the folks at home?
Do research for yourself. Just don't take anybody's word on what's actually going on. You know what I mean?
Man of the free, freedom of mind, money, and media. And if you read our fucking mission statement, it is get your information for yourself, take a little bit from here, take a little bit from here, take advice, take suggestions, take opinions, and then research what you've been told, and then draw your conclusion.
Speaking of stupid, too, I want to drop this in here, too. You know, when the Muslim ban happened, right? So that we're going to ban all these countries that, you know, a majority Muslim. First off, religion.
Well, that's the thing. It had nothing to do with Muslim.
Religion shouldn't be brought into this.
Right.
At all.
He banned countries based on the country.
Right. So, but then it went to never forget 9/11. Yes, ban these countries. I don't know if you remember people posting shit like this, right?
And that's stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
But it was, oh yeah, fuck yeah. Ban all those countries, never forget 9/11. But when you look at the list of countries that are actually banned, the one that wasn't banned was Saudi Arabia, where the majority of terrorists on 9/11 actually came from.
Was it really?
Yeah.
See, I'm not well educated about that.
Actually came from Saudi Arabia
Iraq or Afghanistan or something like that.
No, the majority. I'm talking like most of them, except for like 2 or 3,
came
from Saudi Arabia. and I see these fucking people posting so matter-of-factly
Right.
of never forget 9/11. Apparently you forgot because they're not on that fucking list.
Right.
You dumb motherfucker. You know what I mean? And that's
Doesn't
why
bother you much,
I
does
stay
it, man?
away from social media. And for the most time, this is the first time I've actually talked about politics with all the media stuff that I do with somebody else.
But you know what's
For other
beautiful
people
about
to
it,
hear.
Wyatt, though, is you've shared your opinions.
Yeah.
I've shared my opinions.
Yep.
There's a lot of things we don't agree on, but
And I
you've
don't want to
educated
kill
me.
you.
I've educated you.
In fact, I want to hug you.
We'll do that for the camera at the end. All I'm thinking about is I want a slice of pizza, and that this has gone incredibly.
Yeah.
This is what I think are the fundamental issues in our country today. Okay, and I want to know: do you agree, disagree?
Yeah.
You know, and from there, where do you stand on it? I think that the media no longer houses investigative journalists who are interested in the truth. I think the media is a business now. I think it has a Monday morning sales meeting just like every other fucking corporate entity in the world. I think that the boss says, okay, this is what sells, this is what sells, and this is what sells. Drum me up some good
100%.
shit on all these three things, right? Then the guy in the back of the room says, but wait a minute, I just, for instance, like the Hunter Biden laptop, that motherfucker's cracked wide open. There's incriminating stuff all about the Biden family. There's the Tony Bobulinski guy. You know anything about that?
No.
Okay, so a guy came forward the night of the debates, second debate, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm sure they will. He came forward and he said that I am Hunter Biden's business, but this was all verifiable. Point of fact, business records, tax records, filings, and then he had phones and laptops with supporting documents. I mean, it was bar none point of fact that he was Hunter Biden's business partner in a company. I think it was an energy company. And again, I could be wrong, but here was the fundamental aspect of it. He and Hunter Biden had a company. Bobulinski was a partner in this company. Hunter essentially, what this Bobulinski guy realized is that Hunter Biden was not overly intelligent as a businessman. He didn't have an immense amount of resources. What he had was his father, who was the vice president of the United States of America, and he could peddle his influence to monetize. And he had records that showed that 10% of every transaction, all earnings, went to the big guy. Remember Donald Trump saying in the debate, hey, Joe, I don't know if you saw the debate.
Big guy.
He
Yeah,
said,
I did.
hey,
Yeah.
Joe, I think I've seen that there's a big guy, and I think that I think I know who that big
that's a
guy
good
is,
voice
Joe.
too, man.
Joe, I think I know who that big guy is, Joe. I think it's you, Joe.
Yeah.
And you talk about you don't have any knowledge of your son's business dealings, but Joe, I think we both know that you do, Joe.
'Cause you're the
I think
big
we know
guy.
that you do. I think you're the big guy, Joe.
Yeah.
And that wasn't bad, right?
Why the fuck? You need to do voiceover shit, man. You're good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
CNYDrives.com. That's my good one. Shameless plug for the company there.
That's awesome.
Log on, apply today, drive today. Anyways, so yeah, it was a situation where, and of course, Fox, being Donald Trump's butt humper, are the ones that broke the story. But here, and here's the thing: it got no play on CNN, MSNBC. Fucking 3, 5, and fuzzy 9, as my dad would call it when we had rabbit ears on the TV when we were kids. That's what he called the channels, 3, 5, and fuzzy 9. But it didn't get any play. Nobody investigated it. It was like, Wyatt, I'd never seen anything like it. Okay, and I'm not here. This episode, I've been obviously leaning a lot towards the defense of Donald Trump. I could sit here for an hour and tell you about many things that I dislike about Donald Trump that I would love to sit down and talk to him about, because I think that if he would just eliminate a lot of these things from his character trait portfolio, that he would have a lot better,
I guess the question would be, would he fucking listen to that?
Well, that's the thing, right? How do you go to a guy? I mean,
You really can't. He's
It's
a powerful
tough,
dude.
man.
He achieved what he needed to achieve.
everybody say,
And I
everybody
think part
says,
of achieving presidency, I think that was one of his goals too. In his power.
so
life.
Barack Obama, for anybody who thinks that Barack Obama is incredible and Donald Trump is the devil, because there's many of those people out there, Barack Obama is the reason that Donald Trump became president.
100%. Well, there's always an antithesis.
So why do you think I'm saying that?
Well, I mean, so what I'm saying is there's always an antithesis. So we had
You're saying an ebb and a flow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Always.
I can appreciate that line of thinking. Mine's a little more simple.
Okay.
There was and again, I'll misquote or I'm paraphrasing. There was like a charity dinner. There was an event of some sort.
Absolutely.
I saw that. Barack Obama, it was a radio show or a TV
he
show.
He's going to become president.
Well, this is what he said.
He
said, no, this is what he said. He said, there may have been that as well. What I'm referring to is Obama's reading this tweet from Donald Trump, and it said something like Barack Obama will, and this could be wrong. It's paraphrasing. Barack Obama will, here's what he said, Barack Obama will go down as the worst United States president in history. And Obama goes, well, Donald, at least I will go down as the United States president.
Yeah.
And he drops the phone. The crowd goes wild.
Right.
Meanwhile, Donald Trump sits at home and goes, okay, you son of a bitch, it's on. You know what I mean? And then Donald Trump did what Donald Trump does, which is he gets maniacally focused on something and is told that he can't do it. It's what happened to the Trump Towers project. It's what happened to the Manhattan.
Like that too. Tell me I can't
you
do
and me
something,
both.
I'm gonna do something.
100%. Yep, just the same way I was told I wasn't going to be successful.
As long as it's positive. It's not like you can't jump off that building. I'm not going to go jump off that
I did that when I was younger. Hey, Luke, I bet you won't punch that guy in the face.
You know, I mean, the one thing, too, that kind of gets me, I mean, it's my opinion, the fact that people think a billionaire in America isn't already involved somewhat in politics. I mean, wasn't he at the Clintons' wedding?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know him and the Clintons.
You don't get to be a billionaire businessman, in my opinion, in America without having some sort of political influence you being involved in government.
I would agree to disagree. And I would say that I could genuinely appreciate and understand where that line of thinking would come from. I would then say two words, Dan Pena. You know who Dan Pena is?
Who is that?
Okay. He is Scott, you know who Dan Pena is? Okay. Dan Pena is a businessman. They call him the $50 billion man, I believe. His dad was a migrant, I believe. And again, Dan, forgive me if I'm getting this wrong, but I'm a big fan of Dan's. I just don't know his bio. Right. I know that it goes something like this. His family migrated, to this country, and I think there was some tie to the UK. And again, I'm going to get this wrong, but the general gist of it is he started at the bottom, scrubbing floors, sweeping floors, working on a locomotive, wherever the hell he did. It was a manual labor job. It was incredibly difficult. Right. And he worked his way up, and he got into investments, and he got into big business. Yeah. And he eventually, he would I believe he invested in companies. I believe he, look him up, folks. But he's the guy that's known for, he's a short little guy, and he's got white hair, and he's always dressed to the fucking nines.
Is he old?
What's that? He's old. Yeah, he's like 70-something, I believe, maybe even 80. Luckily, my producers are going to put in
motivational speeches he does?
Yes.
I think I know where you're
They're
talking
going to put
about.
up on the show for the listeners what he looks like and maybe a link to him, because I think we should.
He's the one that says, like, global warming's bullshit and all that stuff in some of his speeches.
It's fucking bullshit.
Yeah, I know exactly.
Everybody's a goddamn pussy. They talk about toxic masculinity, and the guy's got a dick, and he's got balls, and he's got to make decisions, and he's got to protect his fucking family. Right. It just pisses me off. That's Dan Pena.
I feel like, too, I mean, we talked about this at the auction. I don't mean to take you off
of
Dan Pena. We can go back to Dan Pena, but, all of a sudden, everybody in the last 4 years is a hashtag alpha male. Like, hashtag alpha is fuck, hashtag alpha male. Yeah. What the fuck are you talking about? You said you had a great line. You had a fucking great line. And it was the gorilla in the jungle doesn't tell the rest of the jungle that he's the alpha male. It's his fucking banana.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That turned my stomach. It turned me off towards a lot of that stuff. Yeah. A lot of Republican stuff. Okay. It's like, man, what the fuck is wrong with you? You don't need to tell the world you're a fucking alpha male if you're a fucking alpha male. Right. You walk in a room, people know that dude, I don't want to fuck with that
That's
dude.
the thing, hashtag alpha male?
Oh, my God, get out of here. You ever on Instagram? Hashtag
honestly,
alpha as fuck, hashtag I'm more alpha than God, hashtag
I'm more alpha than God?
psychopath, fuck. you really think that, like, what is wrong with you?
That's got to be. That's,
you know what I mean?
That's got to borderline on psychopathy. It
I
has
think
to be.
it does.
Yeah, it has
I think
to be.
it does.
When
you
you're
know?
that narcissistic that you're like violently, verbally assaultive with your feelings of self-worth, that's got to be.
The other thing that I can't get behind, and I consider myself a patriot. If someone came here, you know, I guess I can't consider myself that because I had never fought in war.
A patriot to me is just someone who loves their country.
And I do. I love my country.
Me too.
And I got shit too. I mean, when I did the C.T. Fletcher meet and broke that world record out there and everybody was chanting USA, when I put the video out there, I got shit from the left saying, oh, fucking, you know, all the shit, white supremacist shit, all this shit.
All because you chanted USA.
Yeah, well, I looked at the camera and screamed to the camera, USA, motherfucker, and then they didn't like that. Whatever. Cool.
Unfucking real, man.
All of a sudden, you know, to me, that whole shit, hashtag the real patriots are coming, man, half these dudes hashtagging this shit, they can't even get up off the fucking couch.
Right.
What are you talking about?
The real patriots are coming.
The real patriots are coming. Hashtag the real patriots are coming.
The real patriots are already hard at work,
What are you going to fucking
man.
do?
Right.
The real patriots already are where they need to be.
Yep.
You know what I mean? They're fighting our wars, and I appreciate their service. They're in our military. Love it.
This is the real patriots.
Love it, yeah.
Doing what we're doing, man.
Yeah.
It's right here.
You
see the theme.
Yeah, right. And it's just like this level of fake. My father would use the word machismo.
Machismo. Yeah,
macho.
Yep.
And it's bullshit to me.
Am I losing my mind?
Bullshit.
Did a light just move? It did?
It's God speaking to us through
better calm the fuck
through
down.
the lights.
I think my peripheral's fucking with me.
It's just shit. I couldn't get behind it when I was at the clubs. You know, everyone, you know, all this shit, the fake tough guy shit, and then when you see it in politics, you're like, to me, it like turns my fucking stomach. You know, like,
when you see it in politics, who are you referring to?
Well, I'm not referring to. I'm referring to some of the people, Republican people that go on and speak like, oh, we're all fucking patriots. We're gonna fucking, you know, if they don't fucking do what we want to do, we're gonna fucking do this. We're gonna do that. And it's just like,
who are you referring to?
No, you're not. Well, I would say Giuliani did a speech like that. Giuliani, you fucking bro, you're half dead. Like, what are you talking about?
What did he do?
You'd have to look it up. There's a speech where he talks about we're real patriots and something about blood and all this shit. And it's like, bro, Giuliani, you've probably never been in a fist fight, dude. What are you talking about? And I'll add, the majority of those people saying, oh, hashtag the real patriots are coming, have never been in a fist fight either. You know? And you said
so you equate the hashtag the real patriots are coming to they want to fight?
They want to kill people, fight people, start a civil war. In their sick fucking mind, that's going to help something.
What makes you say
that's
that?
Not going to help? Because I've heard it. I've seen it in videos. I've seen it all over the place, viral videos. I don't really watch the news.
Okay.
I get a lot of my information from live shit that's going on while it's going on. Mm-hmm. I'll find a live feed, watch it on there, whatever. There's a whole almost cult-like thing on social media.
Send me some of that.
I will.
Please,
absolutely.
I'm fascinated.
I will. You know, the real patriots are coming. We're going to kill this person, kill that person. You know, like, what the fuck? What
does anybody lend that any credence, though? Like, does anybody lend that any credibility?
Well, I mean,
I feel like it's just the same thing as, you know, like the fucking the Antifa people saying that they're going to come in and burn cities down and shit like that. Like,
so, well, that's, to me, let's talk about that too, man.
Yeah.
So Antifa stands for what?
I believe anti-fascist.
So fascists are what?
I don't know the definition.
Dictators.
It's somebody essentially who
Hitler
rules by...
was fascist. We fought wars as Americans against fascism, right?
Define fascism.
So for someone to say all of a sudden being anti-fascism is a bad thing, it's actually pretty un-American by fact, not even by an opinion.
So this says fascism is a far-right, authoritarian, ultra-nationalist political ideology and movement characterized by a dictatorial leader, centralized autocracy, militarism, forcible suppression of opposition, and then it goes on to...
And in the history of America, we fought wars against people that were dictators.
Yeah, Hitler, Mussolini, they're calling these guys the fascists.
So at the end of the day, being anti-fascist would be bad? I mean, I don't understand that. And then the other thing about Antifa in general, I believe it's a speaking point on the right. I believe it's a speaking point. When do they meet? Who's their leader? I mean, what the fuck?
Well, it's the same thing like Ultra MAGA, like that's a move, the Ultra MAGA movement.
Okay.
That doesn't exist
but
either.
no one's blamed the ultra mega movements for, like what you just said, something about them claiming to bust people into cities and destroy cities. I mean, that's to me it's the Antifa group. And where did it go? Wait, Joe Biden won the presidency, so all of a sudden they're all gone?
There's been interviews where people, that are like in the streets looting, and when they created in Seattle that encampment that was like a something zone, non-police zone or whatever. Right. Like they interviewed people and they said we're Antifa. So
at the end of the day, I'm anti-fascism. Mm-hmm. So am I Antifa?
Well, no, it's the same way that a team calls themselves.
And I would hope most Americans would be anti-fascist.
You would think, but I don't. But I think the problem is that, so here's where we go back into. Originally, when we were talking, I asked you where you think the problems stem from, and I had said, or if I didn't say, I meant to, and we were talking, but it's the media, social, and mainstream. So speaking of, there's the left media that spews bullshit. There's the right media that spews bullshit. Yeah.
I think one of the things they spew is that there's this fucking group of people that are just total anarchists called Antifa that is coming to your city. It happened here.
They do it both ways.
There was There was a letter in Camillus, and I actually picked up a lot of work that night because everyone was afraid. Because this letter went around Camillus, New York.
This is the night that I was out here with a shotgun, my dealership.
Probably.
Well, that was because there was a police scanner report that came across.
Or somebody.
George Soros.
Whatever. Yep. Soros and Clinton paid Antifa to come to Camillus to fucking, and people believed it. And this is where I go back to fucking stupidity.
Right.
Even the police department put it on their website, telling everybody to be careful.
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about?
I think
you know what I mean? Like,
if they don't and it happens, they're fucked type of thing.
First off, I'm a guy, you should be ready all the time. Mm-hmm. All right, my home is well protected all the time. Mm-hmm. All right.
Do you own guns?
I do. If you don't, then in my opinion, not own guns, but if you don't protect your home in some way, you're fucking stupid.
Yeah, I agree.
You know what I mean? You're setting yourself up for victimhood.
So do you think that Americans should have the right to bear arms?
Absolutely.
You think that assault rifles should be illegal?
No, I don't.
Why?
I mean, because to me, it doesn't matter. If you want to own a gun, you can own a fucking gun. So now, do I think there should be regulations? Yes, I do. Do I think you could be 18 and own one? No, I don't think you should be 18 and own one.
Okay.
You better be 21 to drink. You should be 21 to own an assault rifle. Or, to me, in my opinion, any gun.
Okay.
21 years old.
I agree.
Any gun.
I agree.
Okay.
I think you should also
do I
have
think
to
there
be
should be a
21
mental health background?
Of course.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I agree with that 100%. Other than that, I don't care what people
So you
own.
think a semi-automatic assault rifle should be legal?
It is legal.
What's that? No, I know. They're trying to ban them. So what I'm saying is your stance would be that, there's no harm in that.
No.
Okay. So
but I would question, however, what are you doing with it? Are you hunting with that?
No, I think it's home defense.
And if that's what it is, whatever.
Yeah.
No.
I agree with you.
Do I think that the mental health check is very important?
Of course
Absolutely.
Of course it is.
Do I think that, 100-round magazine is necessary? Fuck no. I don't think it's necessary. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Do I think that people take the Second Amendment like too literal sometimes? Yeah, I do. It doesn't mean if you're a fucking mentally ill person, just because you're American, that means you can own a gun.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I agree. Right. So my stance on guns is kind of the same as Elon Musk's stance on regulating artificial intelligence, right? Like some regulation is necessary because it can grow legs and run off on its own and cause harm if it's not regulated, right? But do I think that, here's how I feel. I feel that telling an American, so this is something that I find very fascinating and something that I find fascinating and also disturbing. This country was founded by men and women, When I say men, I'm just like mankind, okay? Yep. Was founded by men who, and it's sad that I even have to clarify that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
but whatever. Who were being oppressed by a government that was taxing them without representation, was telling them what to do, how to build, what to worship, whatever.
Now we pay taxes more than ever.
What's that? Right. Without representation. And they shed blood, lost lives, did everything in their power, including sacrifice their lives, to create this country. The original colonies, and then the Manifest Destiny, and the United States of America was founded by people who didn't want to be under the rule of a dictatorship anymore, or a monarchy. They didn't want to
freedom of religion.
Yeah, they wanted to have a democracy where the people decided what was okay, and the people decided who was the ruler, and everybody got together. I mean, here was the original in theory, right? Everybody gets together, we vote on what we believe in, and whatever we all can agree is the right thing to do, that's what we're going to do, right? And on the steps of Independence Hall, when they came out from signing the Declaration of Independence, a woman asked Benjamin Franklin, this is kind of an old wives' tale, she asked Benjamin Franklin, she said, well, do we have a democracy? Or do we have she said, do we have a republic, or do we have a dictatorship or a republic? Whatever, look it up. But he said, we have a republic if you can keep it. Okay? Because, really? Can you hear me?
I can.
Equipment malfunction. Of course, that's the most expensive connector you can get. It's still going to shit the bed on me in the middle of a fucking podcast, but whatever. It's like I tell my used car customers, it's rubber, plastic, and metal. It can break, doesn't matter if it's a Benz. So these people founded our country, right? They lost lives, they shed blood, they made sacrifices that people in the current day could not fathom. Standing barefoot on a battlefield, getting gangrene, having to have your foot amputated with no cell phone to call your mom and send a selfie to your friend. Look at my gangrene. Like no porn to watch in the corner and rub one out when you got lonely. No, you're in a fucking field, you're freezing to death, you got a fire, you got your buddies, you got a little whiskey to try to take the edge off, and then the whistle's going, the snare drum's playing. Get back up, start shooting again because the lobster backs are coming.
And even the way they fought was amazing. They stood in a line. Mm-hmm. Like you knew you were going to get
You're
fucked
done.
up. Yeah.
You heard that.
They were shooting each other with lead.
Yep.
You know.
And people were just blowing apart in front of you. This country was founded by people who had the low-hanging fruit to do what you just said. Stand in a line, take bullet fire, and then when they died, the other guy stepped over them and continued to push, and they believed that their freedom, that what they were creating was so profound that they were willing to die and sacrifice their lives and their families and everything. And now today, people are bitching and moaning over everything. Social media, over hair color, over gender fucking ideology, over abortion, over this, over that. If the people who lost their lives to create this country way back then were able to watch on a TV screen,
oh my God.
The general is they'd go, fuck that. No, stop taking the bullets.
They're already rolling over in their graves just based off the taxes that we pay.
Mm-hmm.
Because the taxes we pay now, even if you're broke, you're paying what the equivalent of what $1 million would be back then.
100%. So that's where I take issue, is it's like fundamentally as a country, we have lost sight of what we stand for.
100%.
Right? The entire world used to marvel at this country. Right. We were the ones that figured it out. We were the ones that could actually do democracy. We were the ones that beat out our motherland, created our own colonies, expanded, had an industrial revolution, a technological revolution, an internet revolution, and just we've overcome slavery. That's another thing too. The whole idea of racism in this country. Like, we are the one country that overcame it. We are the one country that had an emancipation of slaves. Right. We are we have the civil rights movement, affirmative action, all these things. Even though I don't necessarily agree with the affirmative action, I agree with the idea of helping progress civil rights. I don't think giving somebody a handicap's the right way to do it. I think everybody should have to work the same amount to earn the same amount of income and prowess. But the bottom line is, we have lost sight of the fact that this is truly the greatest country that ever was founded, ever
I agree.
Was cultivated, ever grew. I mean, we're a beacon of hope for the entire world. But right now, we're at an inflection point. We're at a very, very critical part. Right. And that's why I'm doing this show. That's awesome. Why this is so fucking important. Absolutely. Because right now, we've agreed on guns, okay, which I wasn't sure if we were I wasn't sure of your stance on that. We disagreed on political figures. We disagreed on
what else?
What's that? I just mean a couple things fundamentally. I know that you're Corona, you had some strong opinions about that. I had some strong opinions in opposition. But the fact of the matter was, even in those oppositions of opinion, I still couldn't wait to invite you on this show to talk about it for two reasons. One, because I knew the conversation was going to be productive and we could both learn something. And the fact that we're friends, it allowed us to learn something more about one another.
Absolutely.
But furthermore, for the audience, they got to see two guys disagree respectfully. They got to see a conversation progress, meaning I think they watched us both become better because of the conversation. And this is simply an example of how that's done, right?
And I think that anyone watching should go out, and I challenge them, have a conversation with somebody you disagree with.
100%.
You know, and you'll find more common ground than you would even realize.
And here's the thing, too. Don't be afraid to have your mind changed.
Right.
Right? Everybody comes up with what their stance is on something, and then it immediately becomes, that's my fucking stance. And if you disagree, we're going to fight. It's like, wait.
Even families are breaking up over this.
1,000%, bro. Let me say something to you. I would love nothing more, and I've said this to Scott before, I would love nothing more than for somebody to come to me and help me understand how somebody could vote for Joe Biden.
Right.
Okay? I get why, for most people, it was anybody other than Trump.
Right.
That's where the massive volume of votes came from. Right. Okay? I understand that. I understand why that happened. Right. I don't understand how somebody can say, because of the mean tweets, because of the chauvinism, because of the whatever, the loudmouth, the divisive spirit, whatever, like all those things, I get it. But in my opinion, and again, it's only my opinion, doesn't make it right, the president doesn't necessarily need to be the popularity contest winner. The president doesn't necessarily need to be the guy that everybody thinks is going to have a beer with them and have a conversation that they can all agree on everything. The president isn't the guy that you want to leave in the house alone with your wife. People expect him to be this beacon of modesty and moral, that's not the way I meant to go with it. But the long and the short of it, people expect the president to be perfect, to be able to please everybody, to be able to, operate in a non-offensive way at all times and be fucking Buddha. When in reality, especially where we're at as a country, the president needs to get shit done, right? We stepped on North Korean soil for the first time ever. We had lunch with a dictator who was known to be a maniacal nuclear weapon threatening crazy bastard. We kept Vladimir Putin at bay for the first 4 years in his political history. He didn't annex any lands. He didn't.
What I would like someone to come explain to me is, out of all the greatness of America and all the minds and all everything, how these two were our only choice.
Bro, I'd love to.
You know what I mean?
That's a discussion. That's
what I would love someone to explain to me.
You know what I would love?
That would happen.
I'd love a fucking budget of about $6 trillion and some of the brightest campaigning minds in the world, because I'd love to run for president. I don't know if my family could.
What's that word? Think locally, act globally, or you start local.
Yeah,
I think I got it wrong. Someone will correct.
No,
me.
It makes sense though. What you're saying.
If you want to run
act
for
locally, think globally, maybe.
Yeah, I think that might be.
Okay.
It. I think that's it right there. I think you got it. I think if you wanted to run for something here, I'm sure you could do it.
I've had people come to me, fellow business owners, offer me to sit down with congressmen and senators and just pick their brains and stuff like that. Right. When I say I'd love to run for president, let me rephrase myself. I wouldn't love to run for president. The campaigning and all the bullshit and the smearing politically that goes along with it, it's just hell, right? But I would love to see somebody as level-headed and logical, and when I say level-headed, I'm a hothead. My temperature feels good right now. Actually, for the first time, we got the studio at a good temperature. But my temper flares, right, just like anybody else. And you're gonna have people out there say, "Oh, it's because of the steroids." not on cycle right now. But I would run the country the way I run my business. Okay, and if you were to speak to my employees and you were to ask them, "Is Luke a hothead?" They would say, "He can be." And if you said, does Luke sometimes sweat the small stuff here and there? They will go, he can. And if you ask them, does your paycheck always cash? Well, yeah. Is he level-headed? Yeah. Does he care about you? Oh my God, yeah. Does he love his country? Absolutely. Does he run the business effectively? Yes. Does he operate with a good moral compass? I don't know anybody better. These are things they would say to you, and I'm sure of it, because if they didn't, they would be lying, okay? because ever since I got in trouble a long time ago and I went to prison and I got out of it, I made a commitment to myself, and actually a preacher from jail. And this isn't a religious thing. It just happened to be the guy that was the vehicle for that information at the time. He told me when I got out of prison to, well, it stemmed from he asked me why, because it was like my last day in church there. He's like, why'd you come to church? You never sang a hymnal. You never went to confession. You never took communion. I was like, because I got to smoke an extra cigarette. I was in a shock incarceration camp. We got 2 cigarettes, 3 cigarettes a day. Church got me an extra one, so that's why I went. I got my mind off things. And he jokingly said, okay, I've gotten you a lot of extra smoke breaks. You owe me a few favors. I'm like, okay. Catholic priest telling me I owed him a few favors was a little sketchy at first, but then I realized all he was talking about was when I got home, he wanted me, he said, the first time a decision comes across your lap that's a difficult one, kind of a moral dilemma, he goes, just make the hard decision. Make the right one. Make the one that costs you more energy, more money, but will have positive ripple effects when you make that decision. So I said, okay. And I said, and what are the other, because he said I owed him 3 favors. I said, what were the other 2 favors? He goes, just do it 3 times. And he said, and I promise you, and the way he conveyed it was, if you do the right thing 3 times, God will bless you. And it will be so obvious your blessing that you'll just that will be the new way you live, because you'll always want those blessings. And although I removed the God piece out of it and I try to look at more logically, not that God's illogical, I don't mean that. I just mean I try to be able to wrap my head around it in just basic terms of logic. Because that's the way my mind works. And so I did. I made 3 good decisions, and I could tell those stories another day. One had to do with temptation in a female, one had to do with temptation in money, one had to do with temptation in drugs. And I made all 3 positive decisions that were the hard ones. And within 2 days, a business opportunity was given to me to pay off my fines, get my license back, get back into the car business, which I was good at, front me some cash to help me get back on my feet. And I mean, it was like success. The opportunity to succeed was then placed in my lap moments after I made my 3rd good decision. And I could not dismiss that, right? I couldn't. And it wasn't supernatural, and it was just a product of what he asked me to do. Make good decisions. A good thing will happen back to you. And it just so happened to happen in sequence in a way that it slapped me right across my face. And ever since that point, I just decided that my decisions were all going to be founded in good, sound moral judgment. I was a father now. And I wanted to make sure that if anybody ever went to my kid and said, how do you feel about your father? What do you think? Was he I know how I would feel and what I would say if somebody asked me about my father. And I love my father, okay? But my father was raised by wolves in the car business, okay? The integrity that these men operated with was non-existent, okay? They were hustlers. They were there to get money, and they didn't care who they decimated in their path, right? I think they all loved their families. I think they all weren't trying to be evil, but their decisions that they made and their actions certainly lacked a good moral guidance. I want my children to say to whoever asked them that question, my father is a pillar of moral turpitude. Is that the right word? No? You don't know? What's that word mean? Turpitude? Okay, it sounded good and I've heard it somewhere. Could you look that up? Let me know what turpitude means. But I wanted them to
drink some smart water. Maybe I'll figure it out.
Shameless plug for the Smart H2O, man.
You're right.
What is it?
Depravity, wickedness.
Turpitude is depravity or wickedness? So moral turpitude would not be the right context.
No, absolutely.
No, it would be the antithesis of
integrity.
I want him to say my dad's the best there is. Right. My dad always makes the morally sound decision. My dad always does what's right. My dad always helps people. My dad always, errs on the side of sensitivity and compassion, because when people see me, they see a big muscular monster.
So we were talking about what things are lacking in America, and I believe that's one of them.
Bro.
Compassion for your fellow man is kind of out the window.
Yeah. Shout out Russell Brand too. Okay. He does a podcast too. And, I'm not the kind of guy that hates on success, right? Like I talked about Joe Rogan in this podcast. I talked about I think Chris Voss earlier. These are all people that contribute, right? These are all people that give information and don't ask for much other than social media following, right? It's your wife. You got to answer?
Not right now.
It's real, folks. We're really here. This is real. But I lost my train of thought when I was talking about your wife. I want my kids to say that I'm of good, I'm a morally sound individual, and the things that I do are compassionate. And you said that we're missing that in America. And I'm going to tell you what, brother, if it all of a sudden became popular to be kind, if it all of a sudden became popular, if Kim Kardashian and fucking who else Cardi B, and give me some more here. LeBron James. How about LeBron, right? I'd love to talk to that guy. If everybody that is in a position of high societal attention or relevance, right? People that have millions and millions and millions and millions and millions of followers. If they all of a sudden banded together and said, fuck left, fuck right, fuck, excuse me, blue, that's the first time I ever fucked up the word fuck. Fuck
Fucking
color.
fuck.
Some kid in my high school used to say, fuck the fucking fuckers. But if we all just kind of gave up on this thought that there's left against right, there's white against black, there's Antifa against MAGA, there's red against blue, there's all this divisive fucking rhetoric that the media
could
just
actually
pushes
get
and push. We could get some shit done, right? If Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci could give each other a hug and say, all right, listen, I don't fucking like you and you don't like me, but we're stuck and we got to move forward. So what can we do, right? If fucking we could go down the list and it could get, babbling. But the bottom line is if more people could do what you and I just did today and have discourse and discover and discard the bullshit and educate one another. There's things I learned from you today that I wasn't aware of. There's things that you learned from me today that you weren't aware of. We both walk out of here going, you know what, that guy's a decent guy, and I can see why he feels that way. Maybe that'll help me understand, these other things a little bit differently in the future that I don't necessarily align with always. But maybe I should just listen and have open ears. Bro, the progress that could be made is
leaps and bounds.
Oh my God.
It wouldn't even take that long.
No, it wouldn't. The thing is, we have leaders in this country, and they're not exactly always positive leaders. They're leaders of narratives. They're leaders of trends and fads. And they're also leaders of trends of bullying, and they don't even realize it, right? Of calling, making diminutive remarks about particular types of people or groups of people in a joking way, but they don't realize what they're bringing, the amount of bullying that they're bringing on these people, man. It's fucking insane. So I just, we're going to figure it out, man. This show is not going anywhere. I'm not going anywhere.
I appreciate what you're doing. I respect what you're doing here, and I think it's fucking awesome.
Appreciate you, brother.
I think one of the first conversations we had, too, I was like, you're motivated.
Oh, yeah.
Your license plate, and I was like, man, that's
M2V8D.
Yeah, right.
People either go
I don't understand. See, I don't understand how people couldn't understand it.
I don't either.
And the guy working with me didn't understand it.
Yeah.
I hit it on the head, and I was like, man, you should definitely talk about your story, get it out there, and I'm glad you're actually doing that.
Thank you, brother. Listen, Wyatt, I appreciate you coming on.
You too, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. We're gonna have you on again sometime. We'll pick a hot topic and we'll come in here and we'll ping pong about it. But for the time being, I think everybody got a good idea who you were. Congratulations on all your accomplishments, by the way.
Thank you. I'm nowhere near done. I got more shit to do.
Yeah, that's exciting. You know what I mean? And that to the people watching out there right now, that's the mindset, right? Yeah. That's all it takes is just the fierce, ravenous desire to be productive.
100%.
One thing I say about myself, and people ask me, because my wife has asked, my father has asked, Luke, you hit certain financial markers you wanted to hit. You got the home that you wanted. You got, you're opening your 4th car dealership. You're doing, I won't list accomplishments because it'll sound braggadocious, but, there's been a lot of marks of accomplishment. They say, well, when's it enough? When's it enough? When are you just going to chill the fuck out? And my answer is when I realize my motherfucking potential. And right now, the next step is a jet plane. So, and we're not anywhere near that yet. So once we get to our own Gulfstream or Cessna or Citation or whatever, see, I don't even fucking know these things. That's how far off I am. But I'm going to have my own plane, my own pilot. We're going to get there. Once we get there, we'll reassess and we'll see what maybe owning a country
I'll
looks
see you
like.
On that pilot. I'll see you on that plane with that pilot.
There. You'll be there.
They'll
make us sit on opposite sides for the weight balance.
If I'm still competing, we'll go to the Arnold together.
Fucking A,
flex
brother.
On some people.
Absolutely. Thanks for being here, brother. Man of the free. Out, everybody. Wyatt Lozano, thanks for being with us today. And stay free.